discovered that the mild-mannered 27-year-old was actually an untalented singer-songwriter.
How did I get here? It's probably a tree.
Bright, who mostly keeps to himself at work, usually spends his free time embarrassing himself at open mics across the city, and that underneath his meek and soft-spoken exterior is a terrible guitarist with no musical sensibility whatsoever.
You see him in the office, he's this quiet, reserved kid, and you would never think, oh, he's got a great voice and a wonderful stage presence, and you'd be totally right.
In other news, an Ohio Film Festival graphic designer decides to go with film reels for the O's. And getting Grandma into a family reunion t-shirt is a 3-person job. The entire 144-minute cut of this week's review is available now for just $11.99 on Laserdisc. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
What are you supposed to say?
Back. Bing, bang, bing, bang, bing, 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 bang, bing, bang, bing, bing, bing.
For those of you who don't know, Steve Classic recently discovered one of these videos where it takes sometimes people say the same thing over and over in their phraseology as they walk across the universe. I like to say things that I make up, like portmanteaus, like, I'm having a techniculty.
Right.
Right, that kind of thing. Apparently, Mr. Trump likes to say, what?
Bing, 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 bang, bing, bing, bing. I had no idea.
So there's this video of like all of the times that he has said bing and, you know, all the context.
I love that. I'm a big fan of sound effects.
Yes.
When people are like, you know, that's just their signature.
Boom.
Not that one.
No,
Angie always says boom.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's your own sound effect.
What is
So
that, onomatopoeia or whatever?
Onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just discovered, like, if you just go to one of the, you know, the video sites.
Wait,
Can we say what the video site is? It's a very popular video site. Yeah. So you just type Trump and Bing, and it's just
which is horrible because I hate the search engine known as Bing.
Right.
So I don't want to really give them any press, but like that's the word that Trump likes to say, and it is pretty funny. It reminds me of when you were playing it earlier. It reminded me of what's the movie with Jeff Bridges and the bowling alley, and he's the dude.
Oh, the dude.
What's the name of that movie?
I thought it was the dude.
It is. No, the dude is in the movie.
Yeah.
But it's the name of the movie.
I don't know. You get the magic rectangle. Hold on.
I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this. It's like one of the most popular movies of all time. Yeah. But at any rate, so there's a lot of cussing in that movie, particularly the word FCC. Except that's not the word that I mean. I mean one that rhymes with fire truck.
Right.
I just have to use FCC as a substitute for the word that I mean.
The Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski, thank you. So in the Big Lebowski, there's lots of gratuitous cussing, and someone, many, many years ago, you could still find it online, made the effing short version. And what they did is they took the whole movie and edited out everything except for when they say the word FCC. Yeah. Right? So it's FCC this, FCC that, FCC you, FCC me, FCC them, right? All the different phrasings, sometimes a few words leading up or after, you know, the word FCC. So that's what your video reminded me of, but it's the Bing version.
Yeah, Bing, yeah.
Trump, the Bing version.
Yeah. But also like Scarface. I mean, you know, years ago used to be a Scarface drinking game.
Scarface from Half-Baked?
Scarface with Al Pacino.
Come on.
You know.
Come on.
Yeah,
so, you know, every time he
than I am Al Pacino.
Anyway, anytime he hit the said FCC, you had to take a shot.
Take of booze?
Yeah.
Wow.
So good luck if you can make it through the first 5 minutes.
Right.
If you see the entire movie.
I'm just putting a note in our show notes.
What's the star date?
That says, what the FCC is going on. If you haven't picked up on it, Nikki, I'm obviously now substituting the F-bomb for FCC.
Yeah, I like it.
So there's a bunch of mother FCCers out there who might disagree with my technique. However, I am
FCC them.
restricted.
Yeah.
They can go FCC themselves because I am restricted by a government agency of violence who will take this show off the air. Specifically me, if I get in trouble for it, right? So
FCC them.
Fine.
I don't want to lose my job, so yeah. So until that changes, those mother FCCers can go FCC themselves.
Nice.
See, I would have to be careful doing that
You
because
do.
I
You'd
would
be like,
totally
do not
slip
try
up.
this at home. Also, callers, don't try this on the radio unless you are a linguistic
Because we will
professional.
FCC you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we'll-
Actually, no, that sounds kind of weird.
No,
but
well,
we'll flush you. We'll dump
hit
you.
the dump
dump
button.
you. Yeah.
That's
All right, so let's see. Captain's log, stardate 11262023. It is Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's...
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
And I am your host, the authentic Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass Buckshot Esquire, if you will. The telephone number, because we are a live call-in radio program for the next 3 hours, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. We're going to kick things off with a little, I don't know what they're like. I don't want this to be like bragging because it isn't, right? But it is interesting.
Maybe it is.
For sure. So last night we talked about how New Hampshire was the second happiest state.
New Hampshire's a lot of things.
Right?
We're on the top of many lists.
Yeah, yes. And oddly, North Dakota was number one. I'm not sure
How
what
they
that
did that.
means and how that grades out.
You know what? I actually know a couple of people from North Dakota,
Yeah.
and they do seem to be really happy.
They're pretty just...
But there
like
are-
people like it there.
Yeah. North Dakota is also one of the top 12 states.
It is one of the top 12 states. Yeah, absolutely.
And New Hampshire is one of the top 12
yeah,
states.
for sure.
And Alaska, that island.
The islands, the island of Alaska.
Yeah, that's one of the top 12
Not
states.
not the islands off the coast of
Not
Alaska.
the Aleutians.
Did you know that Alaska is an archipelago?
I thought it was
It's
an
like
island.
Japan or
Okay.
Hawaii. Yeah.
Wow. You know
Just
what?
in case they didn't teach you that in public school
And Bob's your uncle.
or college or whatever.
I feel like the end of a South Park episode. You know, I learned something today.
And it's actually completely wrong and incorrect.
Well, it's also not an island.
Well, that's the point, right?
And neither is Rhode Island.
Neither is Rhode Island.
And
This
it's-
is why Americans
and it's
are,
not just an
dumb
island.
Americans.
It's not just an island with one road either.
No.
Yeah,
And they misspell road.
they do. Rahodi.
Everything about.
Rhody.
Rahodi. It'd be fun if they pronounced it that way.
Rhody Island.
What other states would be weird if they were
Rhody
pronounced the way
Island.
they were?
A lot of them.
them. Yeah. So we know recently, I think it was the Cato Institute released there, or was it Fraser? I don't remember. One of the institutes released their thing saying that New Hampshire is number one in economic freedom again
Yes.
No.
for
Number one.
the
Number
umpteenth
one.
year in a row, whatever. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So those of you who are not familiar with something called FSP.org or the Free State Project, that is sort of the heading organization, if you will, of something I refer to as the Greater New Hampshire Freedom Migration.
It's like the North Star of migration.
It's a shining beacon in a sea of FCC and crap, right? And so, like, if you want to kind of get an idea of what that's all about, go visit fsp.org, find out about the Free State Project. What it is, in a nutshell, is the desire to get as many freedom-oriented, i.e. voluntarist, anarchist, libertarian types who hate the state, know that the government is evil, and want to make a change, want to help us build a place where we can hopefully secede from the United States of America. That's kind of the big thing on the agenda now.
Right. We hit that $40 trillion cap.
Yeah, there's a proposal now where if the U.S. federal debt exceeds, I think it's 44
I thought it was 40 trillion. 44.
Whatever it was,
That's a rounding
whatever.
error.
So in like a couple of days.
somewhere, at the rate that they're burning and acquiring debt, like next week or something, late
might be
January, I don't know. We might be bordering on it right now. Last time I looked, it was like 34 trillion, and that was a week ago. So I don't know what it is now, but they're burning. They are creating money out of thin air at a pace that has never before been seen. So there's legislation proposed that if the federal debt does reach over $40 trillion, that an immediate inquiry begins. A committee is formed in true government fashion to study the what it takes for us to actually declare our independence. So it's going to be fun times. If you are independent minded, you want to help build the example, you want to be the change in the world, consider moving to New Hampshire, because there's a lot of good things going on. You don't have to, I didn't sign anything. I just moved here, right? I knew about the Free State Project. I knew about the Free State Project. I like what they're doing. There's a whole bunch of other people here that came here for the same reasons, but they also didn't sign. Not necessarily because they didn't want to. Like, for me, it was a conscious decision not to sign. But some people are just like, oh, I got to go to New Hampshire. That sounds like it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So
I actually didn't even really know about
all that,
the Free State Project, when I was moving here. I didn't even know what a libertarian was. I thought libertarians were just Republicans that liked guns a little bit more.
Steve, look at Nikki. She's all grown up. It brings a tear to my eye.
I was for sure an anarchist. I knew that much. I knew that I didn't like the state, but I didn't know. I didn't read all these fancy books, and then I moved here, and I was like, I like books. Yeah. So I read some fancy books, and I'm like, well, I guess I know the underlying philosophy of what I've known since I was a child, right?
And that's a good point. A lot of people are like, oh, politics is so involved, and those people are way smarter than me, and they understand things, and the political
really
climate is so intricate, and
it's
they
really
pretend
not.
They want you to believe. These politicians, they want you to believe that it's so complex that you can't possibly understand it, that they are smart. No, it's not, and it's so full of FCC and crap that it's unbelievable. And so it doesn't take, you don't need to be politically involved or politically intelligent, or you don't need to read, political headlines in the news or anything to understand that individuals should do things on a voluntary basis. You should, all things with consent at all times. That's the fundamental philosophy of anarchism. That's the fundamental philosophy of voluntarism. The fundamental philosophy of libertarianism is all things with consent. And government as an institution violates that just by their very existence, and then they continue to violate it even more with all of their subdivision departments and all that crap.
Yeah, and I mean, that's basically what the state is, protecting. Yeah. And I always think of the medical industrial complex, right? Because that's kind of my thing that I'm interested in. Right. And I just hear all of these horrible, horrible stories of people in hospitals and just being assaulted by doctors. Their consent is stripped away, but it's all right because it was a nurse that did it to them or a doctor that did it to them. And it's it was for your best and whatever. The state is protecting those people, right, and also casting the illusion on a lot of us that it's okay,
right? Yeah.
And it extends, beyond doctors. I mean, school teachers, and I mean, in some places, school teachers are still hitting children, and it's legal and okay.
Yeah.
My cousin's in South Carolina. This was a while ago because my cousin is, out of school now, but when he was younger, they sent home, and this is public school too. He's not in a Catholic school or anything. This is public school, South Carolina. They sent home a form for my aunt to fill out, and it was can we physically discipline your child? Yes or no?
Oh, wow.
And my aunt was no.
I'll do that at home.
Wow.
Yeah, right. We don't to outsource our abuse.
We only hit them here.
But yeah, she was what? I can't even believe they're asking me this.
This is how antique, archaic, barbaric, wrong the organization known as the state is. Have you ever heard of anybody going on a crusade, going on a mission of any kind within the political system to remove laws?
I mean, maybe in New Hampshire, but no, not really. So basically what you do is you create another law to counteract law. Like that's kind of
but
the only
old
mechanism
law
they have.
remains. There is no built-in mechanism. There is no audit. There is no anything. You always hear about these things if you watch like your local news. You always see their fun piece. It's like, oh, did you know this ridiculous law that like if your cherry tart is more than 4 inches in diameter, that it's illegal or
sell
whatever?
A pickle that doesn't bounce
in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Can't wear a purple shirt on Wednesdays.
Right. You hear all this stuff, and it's because of that. It's because these laws are so old, so ancient, and useless. But no one ever thinks to, we should get rid of the bad ones.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like a funny, silly thing. Like I remember,
as if there's any good ones.
Yeah,
right?
but
like
I remember learning about those sort of things in school. And it's like, oh, haha, this is so funny and silly because police, the law enforcement would never enforce these things, right? But like technically, I mean, it might not hold up in court. The judge might go against them if you get like arrested for wearing a purple shirt on Wednesdays, right? Or if your stripes are going left versus right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But technically speaking, they could, prosecute you for these things.
Your
You know what I
shirt's
mean?
untucked.
Like.
So-
Just it's actually really stupid and negligent and dangerous to keep all of these laws in the books. And why don't we have a mechanism like as a country? Not like I really believe in the legitimacy of any of this, but why don't we have a mechanism to remove some of these things that are irrelevant or unjust?
The reason is because the system isn't designed to protect you, the people.
No, of course
it
not.
isn't for the people. It isn't of the people or by the people. It doesn't exist for the reasons you've been taught to believe. It exists to only grow and take more for itself. It is a giant leech on the side of the face of society that everybody just ignores. You ever seen like one of these people that's got like a big thing on the side of their face?
Yeah, and you're not supposed to look at it?
You're not supposed to look at it.
Don't make eye contact with the boil.
Yeah.
Those two
people
sometimes.
have tattoos
but
on their face, like you look at them.
No, like
what are you looking at?
like
your tattoo.
I'm trying to read whatever the
like
scratch on the side
like
of
a
your
big
face
hairy
is.
mole or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's the
it's
state.
rude to stare. You
That's
know what
the
I mean?
state, right? And everybody sort of ignores it. And when you talk about it, they're like, "Oh no, I don't know what I don't know what you're talking about."
But
They
not
don't
even
have
just
that.
People worship it.
They do.
You know what I mean? Like some people are like, "I'm a patriot."
Govern me harder.
Before we get too far down that rabbit hole, I want to circle back to the New Hampshire bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because we started off talking about yesterday, we talked about New Hampshire being the second happiest state.
Mm-hmm.
We already know both the Cato Institute and Fraser Institute have repeatedly anointed New Hampshire the most free state in economic terms and in personal liberties.
Yeah, I mean, we've been the top state for at least, 250
And if
plus
we're not number
years,
one, we're number two,
top 12,
depending on the year or when they run the study or whatever. So that's pretty. But I've never seen this one until you posted it.
Yeah.
New Hampshire, this is from Boston25news.com.
Yeah.
New Hampshire ranked smartest state in the nation.
Wicked smart.
Study find.
That's what they
It
say.
doesn't say that in the title, but man, it should have.
News
It
25
should have.
Boston.
I know. That was a missed opportunity. Boston, too. They
Come
should
on.
know better.
Well, in Boston, they're not wicked smart.
Yeah.
You got to come up to New Hampshire before you're wicked smart.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder
You
if
gotta
they,
park the car
I
in
wonder
the
if they
Hobbit
included Boston's trash can part of New Hampshire in that study. I don't know.
that Worcester sauce was wicked sauce.
Worcestershire.
The worst Chestershire.
Has anyone ever bought a second
Worcestershire.
bottle of Worcestershire sauce?
Yeah, I did once because I think I lost the first
That's
one.
like. My theory is that there's only one Christmas fruitcake in the world. It just keeps getting
So,
regifted.
okay, now I
every
have
year.
to I have to tell a story. Why'd you do this? So every year my family does a Yankee swap, which is
What's a Yankee swap?
So it's like or sometimes
Couple
they call it a
Southerners
white
like trade their Yankees to
they
each other.
call it a white elephant swap sometimes. So basically what you do is okay, but some people might not be. So you all bring a present, like gift under $10 or under $15, whatever.
Yep.
And then you draw numbers and then you pick a
Secret
gift.
Santa is
Secret
another
Santa
name.
style,
Yep.
kind
Okay.
of, similar. So in my family we do this every year on Christmas Eve. Because I have a big family and you're not buying stuff for everybody.
Right. Yep.
Anyways, there was a fruitcake that was in the Yankee swap one year. And we're all like, who brought the fruitcake? Who brought the fruitcake?
Oh, wait,
right?
you could see the presents before you...
No, they're wrapped.
Oh.
But you get it, and then
Yeah.
they're like,
You
who
open it and you're like,
who brought the fruitcake?
Yeah.
So then for maybe like 10 years, the running joke was if you got the fruitcake, you'd put it in your freezer all year long
And then bring it
and you'd bring it back.
Oh.
So for
Nice.
like 10 years at least, maybe longer,
Yeah.
the fruitcake was always at the Yankee
So my
swap.
theory isn't necessarily untrue.
No, so it was, in my family at least, it was true. And then somebody finally was like,
That's hilarious.
They ate it?
I'm throwing this away. Either I hope they didn't, but somebody eventually threw it away because they were
Yeah.
like, I'm not keeping this
Donated
for
it
a
to
year.
science.
Well, first of all, the style of fruitcake I'm thinking of is disgusting.
It looked disgusting.
It's horrible and disgusting. And
Yeah, it's just not
like,
good.
You don't have to refrigerate it. You can leave it in your attic for like 10 years
Yeah.
and like open it up and it still tastes exactly the same.
I mean, do people actually eat fruitcake?
I'm convinced fruitcake is a survival food. You want to
It might
keep a
be,
couple
yeah.
of those like in your basement or in your bug out place or whatever.
Buried in the backyard,
You know,
just in case.
just as a treat. So
Yeah.
when you get tired of eating, powdered whatever,
when Christmas comes around.
Christmas comes around.
Unearth the fruitcake.
Speaking of Christmas foods and holiday foods that I don't like, Jell-O with shredded carrots.
What?
Ew.
Yeah, it's the worst. I don't.
Is that a
Seattle
Midwest
thing?
thing?
I don't know, but it's horrible. Don't ever do it. If you're doing
Yeah.
it, stop. Nobody wants
I've
that.
never heard of that.
No one
before.
wants that. No
we
one
don't
wants
do that in New Hampshire.
No one. You just take. You just take
That's
carrots
actually
on the
against the
old
law
cheese
here.
shredder, right? And you put them
Carrots?
in a big thing of Jell-O, and you let it set. And
I
now
don't
you
think
have,
anyone does that.
Now you have carrot-filled Jell-O.
I don't
no,
believe you.
No, it's.
Do you have to use orange
trust me.
Jell-O?
The popular flavors are either orange or green.
Oh.
Not that those are colors, I guess. Not
I thought
flavors,
sometimes
but-
you put fruit in the Jell-O, right? We put it in like a bundt pan, and then it's like, oh, Jell-O, whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
Carrots, though.
But yeah, that's right.
Carrots.
We'll trick those kids into eating something healthy.
No,
You
that
know?
has to be a Midwest
Cabbage
thing.
Maybe
Jell-O.
it is.
I don't believe that.
I don't know, but like it.
I
no, I've seen
follow,
it. You should believe it. It has happened,
Ugh.
and it will happen again.
I
And
mean,
if
I've
you're
also
listening
seen
to
the
this,
hot dogs in there.
Oh God, that's disgusting.
Hot dog Jell-O.
yeah,
That's what Captain brought for Thanksgiving.
That's not true. I sent a photo around. It's basically a gelatinous mold that has like hot dogs and green peppers and pickles, and it's just the most disgusting looking thing.
Yeah.
That was going to be what I brought to anybody who invited me to their holiday thing. Okay, I'm bringing this.
They're like, oh, weird. Our thing actually got canceled.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go out of town, and so sorry to uninvite you.
Yeah.
Well, I found it. Grandma's sunshine salad recipe.
Sunshine salad.
Go on.
See,
Yeah.
and this is why I know it's a Midwest thing, because people from the Midwest call everything a salad. They like put stuff in. They do. They put stuff in Cool Whip, and they're like, "This is my blah blah blah
Oh,
salad."
look, what's this?
Like,
a half pound of ground beef on top of one piece of lettuce? It's a salad.
Yeah, or like sweet stuff. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
So the retro sunshine Jell-O salad recipe with lemon Jell-O, grated carrots, and crushed pineapple will be the sleeper hit at your next potluck.
Sleeper hit. Yeah, will it?
Only if you put like
Some melatonin in it.
some NyQuil in there. Yeah.
Right.
Something, man.
That's the sleeper.
Some sleeping pills ground up. I don't
Oh
know.
man.
It came out of the 60s. Used to be made with oatmeal raisin cookies and lemon meringue pie.
Okay, I guess the lemon meringue pie is okay.
Cucumbers, horseradish, carrots.
What in the Jell-O?
I prefer my oatmeal cookies with chocolate chips, not raisins.
Yeah, me too.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Good idea, Steve.
Yes. Tell us about the smartest state. They don't use
As we
carrots
talk
in
about
Jell-O.
something completely dumb.
Yeah.
right?
How did we get?
That's right. It wasn't from New Hampshire.
Yeah, we're so smart. We started talking about a dumb
We
thing.
must be, immigrants. All of us.
A New England state has been ranked the smartest state in the nation, according to a new study. Research by free online education platform Guru99, never heard of that before, analyzed 6 different metrics: average IQ, graduation rates, percentage of the population with low literacy rates, average SAT scores, percentage of the states that don't have a high school diploma or GED, and GDP per capita. We'll tell you who they ranked number 1 coming up. It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the third daily release of hostages, with the fourth and final set of prisoners expected to be set free on Monday. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. However, as FSN's Mia Alberti in Lebanon reports, the pause in fighting could be extended beyond the current 4-day agreement.
As we saw more hostages and prisoners being released on Sunday, we also saw a small glimpse of hope for the relatives of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, that both sides appear to be willing to extend this humanitarian pause. So obviously for both sides this would be a welcome news. And we also heard from Qatar, who has been mediating these talks between Israel and Hamas, saying that they are using all of the paths available to try and negotiate, to try and achieve this extension of this humanitarian pause, which in turn could lead to a long-term ceasefire.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is calling for the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting to be extended to allow for the release of more hostages. He spoke to reporters to confirm a 4-year-old American girl, Abigail Edan, was one of the 17 hostages set free on Sunday.
She's free and she's in Israel now. Those who are now wrapping Abigail in love and care and the supportive services she needs. She's been through a terrible trauma. She spent her birthday, and at least 50 days before that, held hostage by Hamas. Today, she's free under the brokered and sustained, though intensive U.S. diplomacy. We continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Biden also said he was hopeful the current 4-day truce could be extended so all the hostages, including other Americans, could be safely returned to their families. Meanwhile, the UN World Food Programme is warning Gaza may be on the brink of famine. The WFP's executive director, Cindy McCain, confirmed that the UN has managed to feed more than 110,000 people in Gaza since the pause in fighting. But she warned that much more help was still needed. Speaking to CBS, McCain also said other countries needed to help support the agency's efforts.
This is something that's not only terrific, but it will spread. And with that comes disease and everything else that you can't imagine. Bottom line, we need more trucks in, we need more aid in, we need to be able to have more access to be able to distribute the aid. The problem is not just the ability to not be able to feed. The problem is the world needs to step up.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
I think you got some phlegm there, Steve. Maybe.
But that was a garbage disposal.
I knew that. Phlegmy garbage disposal. I like the word phlegm because it's spelled like, I don't know, PH.
I think there's a G. Yeah,
M or something. Yeah.
I always think of Ahmed, the undead terrorist from Jeff Dunham, where it's like, how do you spell your name? A-H, phlegm.
It is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. The telephone number is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
And I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. We've been starting to talk about this article from What was it? Boston, something or another? Boston,
25
Boston
news.
25?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Oops, I just bumped your camera.
That's good news. Normally, all they report on is like all the shootings in the outer city limits.
Oh, I
so
see.
it's cool that they're reporting on something else.
That's way outside the
They're
city
like, I
limits.
wonder why we're not the smartest.
New
Probably
Hampshire,
because-
I'm sorry, the headline reads, New Hampshire ranked smartest state in the nation. Study finds. A New England state has been ranked. They could just say New Hampshire. They already blew the,
punchline.
The surprise by putting it in the headline. Online platform Guru 99 basically did a thing, and it says, hey, New Hampshire's smart, or the smartest. When looking at the metrics, states were given a total score out of 60. New Hampshire scored 56.82.
Wow.
Cool.
So almost 57. New Hampshire is this is a quote now from the article. New Hampshire is the smartest state in America. Data shows that on average, the state has the highest IQs across the country with 103.2 as the average. The platform said the state also has the smallest percent of the population with low literacy skills, with only 11.5% falling in that category. New Hampshire also has one of the highest GDP per capita with 74,633. What's highest GDP per capita?
What is the
Gross
highest?
domestic product. Right, that's what GDP is, but what is per capita? That's per person, right?
Per person.
All right, so
I don't know
the
what any of
average
that
person in New Hampshire produces
The
around
median income is $74,000.
around $74,000, a little more than $74,000.
And you know why? Because there's no income tax or sales tax.
Right.
You get to keep more of your money.
Right.
I wonder, does that
And
get
it incentivizes
counted?
production.
Yes.
So that's included?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here are the top 10 smartest states in the nation. We'll go from the bottom up. Number 10, Utah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
Number 9. This one's near and dear to my heart. Wisconsin.
Yay.
Even though they're also the drunkest state,
Yeah.
they're also the number 9th smartest
You can
state.
be drunk and smart.
Cheeseheads.
They're industrious about their drinking.
Yeah.
Number 8, South Dakota.
Hmm.
Yes, with the they've got the Mount Crushmore,
Oh, yeah.
and they also have the when I lived there, I don't know, a couple of decades ago. I only lived there for a short period of time, but they were building the Crazy Horse Monument. Right, so
Oh,
it
yeah.
hadn't even been started, and
Cool.
like they were like, see this big large rock? Well, it's gonna look like this. They'd have like an artist
Oh, right.
rendering or whatever because AI didn't exist.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plaster of Paris version.
right, yeah. Number 7, Maine. So our neighbors to the east of us here in New Hampshire. North Dakota. So, the one on top of South
Yeah.
Dakota.
Top 12 state.
Yep. Montana.
Also a top 12 state, I think. Yes.
Our neighbor to the west, Vermont, at number 4.
Also a top 12 state.
A neighbor to the Dakotas, Wyoming, coming in at number 3. And number 2, Minnesota. Minnesota. And then number 1. Number 2, Minnesota.
You don't want to be number 2.
And New Hampshire, number 1, 56.82.
Cool.
America is home to many of the greatest educational institutions across the globe. No, it isn't. As one of the world's largest economies and powerhouses in industry and innovation, I don't think it's that either. It's pivotal that every generation continues to learn, to develop, to progress the foundations that have already been built in the country, said Krishna Rungta, founder and CEO of Guru 99. So,
well,
it says this is a developing story.
Developing, yes.
Like, really?
We're
How
going to
much-
get smarter. Hold on. Next year.
We're gonna ask some guys in New Hampshire to rewrite this for us.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Hey, be smart. Move to New Hampshire. Be part of the smart
Yeah,
people.
you could instantly be smarter just by relocating to New
Right.
Hampshire.
I mean, that.
Yeah.
According to the study.
Yeah. No income tax, no sales tax.
All right, let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. I believe this is Tim in full. Hey, Tim. Tim?
Got bottom up.
Did I?
Yeah.
No?
Where is he?
Tim, are you there? Timmy!
Yeah, when you said that I had you on mute because I got a lot of phlegm in my throat and I forgot that I had you on mute and I got self-conscious listening to you talk about phlegm. I thought the smartest state in the nation meant that you got the most devices, but apparently not.
The most
I
what?
listened to
Devices?
the article.
Devices? Like magic rectangles or? What do you mean by
Yeah,
devices?
at first when you were talking about that article, until I heard you get into it, I thought, oh, this is going to mean that they got the most devices.
Oh, like
You know,
smart devices, smart TV, smart home.
Oh, I thought it was
phone.
like a 2A device.
Yeah, I got a smart toilet. I don't have one. It's
Oh, boy. Hey, I can confirm the thing about the Jell-O with carrots. There used to be a chain, a restaurant buffet called what is it? Morrison's.
Okay.
And I always remember the very first thing you saw was their Jell-O selection, which you might have like a green Jell-O with some kiwi in it. And yeah, you have the Jell-O with the carrots in it. So I can definitely, that is a true story.
Yeah, I just remember like somebody putting it on my plate at, when I'm a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old,
That's
something like that.
mean.
Somebody put it on my plate at like Thanksgiving or whatever, because
And you never trusted that family member ever again?
You couldn't, like at that age, you don't dish your own plate, right? They dish a plate for you or whatever. And so, they put some on my plate because I like Jell-O.
Right.
And I didn't realize that those were carrots. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's some weird pattern. It probably is a sweet thing that like tastes yummy.
Yeah,
you
you'd
know?
think, right?
And no, much
Nope,
to my
mean trick.
demise. And then like I couldn't have seconds until I ate the Jell-O.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So-
carrot cake is,
Completely
they disguise
Yeah,
the carrots in there.
Yeah, but you're not.
Yeah, but
you're
it's
not
like-
like with Jell-O, you're expecting sweet and yummy, not sort of
but-
bready and
But you know what it is with the carrot cake is they use it to like moisten the. It's like same with like zucchini bread.
Zucchini
Like
bread, yeah.
it's
Doesn't taste
main-
like zucchini.
Yeah, like its main factor is to moisten the bread or the cake, and then you dump a bunch of sugar in there to kind of to cover up the fact that you're eating carrots in your cake.
That's Jell-O.
Tim?
Well, my grandma made a great carrot cake, and I have to say it adds to the texture. But actually, one other thing I wanted to bring up real quick, and then I'll get off the line here. And how do I tie these two things together? The Hannibal doctrine in Israel, which I brought up before, which is basically the doctrine that if a hostage is taken, you kill the hostage taker and you kill the hostage. In other words, it's their extreme version of we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Wow.
But I was thinking about the internet and how the creation of the internet was kind of to spy on the citizenry, but it ended up having like a double-edged sword, and now the citizenry knows kind of more what's going on. than they
Thank
did
you,
back
Edward
in the
Snowden.
day. And they have to back off. So then like this, you always see these examples in the past few years where the state will like crack down on an uprising, but then they'll back off and they'll roll back the draconian things they did.
Yeah, I don't know how to tie those two things together either, but good points either way. And thanks for the call, Tim. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, no, the only reason I bring it up as far as why I'm tying it in is because after the last time they had to do one of these hostage exchanges, from what I understand, the state of Israel was very embarrassed, and that's when they created the Hannibal doctrine so that the next time it happened, they would just kill their
They're
own
like,
citizens.
just kill him. It's fine.
Yeah, but now they've actually have done an exchange, and they are releasing Palestinian prisoners. Now, afterwards, what happens? I think they're just going to kill everybody. But apparently,
It's what governments like to do.
I think there's enough blowback from people, just by the existence of the internet, that technology is finally allowing people to. Governments can't get away with things for as long as they used to be able to get away with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Like, information spreads faster now than it ever has. So if there is any sort of like social objection by not even a majority, but like a large quantity of people, it used to be that the internet only affected things like, when Firefly, the TV show, got canceled and all the fans were up in an uproar, and they organized online to protest whatever studio was producing it. And so they got their way, and instead of them, making another series, season 2 or whatever, they made a motion picture to sort of wrap it up with all the original characters. So the fans sort of made a difference that way. But now, you're right, Tim. I think technology, at least the spread of information, is so fast now that when a government does something shady, as soon as it's uncovered or unearthed, that information spreads way faster now than it did, and so that shortens the lifespan of the PSYOP, if you will.
Right. And then they have to
and with the advent of AI, and I'm going to drop off the call, but with the advent of AI, now that time is even shortening more because the AI can figure out all the BS in it, and the AI that the government's using, they're going to say, "Hey, everybody's catching on. You got to back off now."
Tim, thanks for the call, man. Have a great one. Yeah, I hadn't thought about AI like being used as a method to thwart government chicanery. Like, that makes a lot of sense because, like, government can't control AI any more than you or I can, right? So that seems to be a level playing field. And if these AIs are programmed with things like, logic, for example.
Yeah.
Right? So they're able to do logic faster than a human brain.
But including like articles, they're ripping off other articles.
Sure.
Right? So a lot of these articles, especially like Javier Milei, the far right, fringe libertarian, crazy policies, everyone starts writing about that. And then AI picks up on that, and then it just becomes the truth.
Well, what you're talking about is web crawlers.
Or
right?
web crawlers will make the AI story.
It can. If you tell the AI, hey, go make me a story about Javier Milei, it's going to use web crawlers to scrape headlines from, all over the place. But if you give it a different set of instructions, like, hey, AI, tell me why government is necessary.
Right.
Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see results for that.
Yeah,
kind of
it'd
stuff,
be
right?
like trick question.
If it's wrong to violate consent, then why should government exist? These are questions I want AI to chew on for a while. I'd love human beings to chew on them for a while.
Yeah.
I just have far more faith that AI is going to chew on it, throw a dose of logic at it and go like, according to logic, it shouldn't because it does violate consent.
Now I'm just imagining like AIs just watching like reality TV.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to ponder that, but The Real Housewives is on, so.
AI is like Peg Bundy from Married with Children, sitting on the couch eating cherry bonbons, watching Harpo, Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah. AI, stay out of New Hampshire. We're smart. Don't try to fool us.
Yeah. I don't like, I'm certainly not going to go around being like, yeah, well, I'm from New Hampshire. We're smarter than you. Like that's.
Oh, I am. I've already
Really?
been doing that. Oh, yeah, I've been doing that for a while.
That sucks.
That sucks.
Nobody likes a braggart.
Yeah.
Well, if you could do it, it's not bragging.
Yeah.
If you're smart, you're smart.
You have to prove it. All right. So.
I did. I live here.
Right. The article confirms it.
Yeah. Duh.
The Boston 25 says.
All right. Since we're so smart, we should segue into our number 2 story.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
This from CBSNews.com. Businessman John Caldera. I'm just looking at the date. That is September 20. Okay. Businessman John Caldera dumps human poop on steps of Denver City and County building.
I like how they,
Cool.
I like how they use the word dumps and poop in the same headline. What if AI wrote that?
There's a video here, and it has nothing to do with the story, but sometimes these videos autoplay, and I hit pause at just the right moment where like they look sort of half retarded.
Oh, I love that.
Like one eye closed or whatever.
That's good.
The two ladies on there. Anyway, while Mayor Mike Johnston says addressing homelessness is his number 1 priority.
His number 1 priority.
His number 2 priority.
A Denver businessman says he's had it with the homeless, going number 2 wherever they want. In what he calls an act of civil disobedience, John Caldera dumped human poop that he found outside his business on the steps of the Denver City and County building on Monday.
Good.
All right, so
I mean, that's like
there's a couple of things here. Number 1. No pun intended.
And number 2.
Number 1, homelessness, while you could say it is caused by government, asking the government to solve it is going to get you nowhere.
Impossible.
As has been evidenced by everything that every government in every big city that has a homeless problem has ever tried. No big city has ever solved the homelessness problem, ever, period.
So, like, I get that, but if they're kind of like controlling everything and taking
Sure.
responsibility for stuff, it's like, all right, well, if you want to,
Don't get me wrong. Like, regardless of his reason, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
Just to show the politicians what you think of them.
Because they're also making it worse,
Yes.
right? So if anything, it's like, okay, we might not even be asking you to do anything. Just get out of the way.
Well, it's like
they're making this issue worse.
It's like in New Haven where they made those tiny houses for the homeless, and then New Haven said, "Oh, you don't have a building permit. You got to tear them down."
It's like, of course we don't have a
Washington
building.
State.
Yeah, of course we don't have a building permit. They're homeless, and we don't have any money. This is all like donations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're on a budget. We
Get
didn't
out of
have
your
time.
home. Get back to being homeless.
And there's some there's some inhumanity involved with government and their treatment of homeless. For example, there are some, we'll say, man-made structures that are built by government. They're called roads. You may have heard of them. In the
Who paved the roads?
In the Seattle, Washington area, it's mostly bridges because of the hills and the mountains, right? There's like a majority of the roadways and highways and that kind of thing are bridges, at least in Western Washington. So, of course, humans who don't have shelter, who need to get out of, the rain, for example, will seek shelter underneath things like bridges and that kind of thing, where there's no one, there's no homes, it's just empty space. It's a field, it's probably got rats or mice in it and bugs and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, or whatever. But they need to get out of the rain, and it's dry.
Yeah.
So they seek that out. So to prevent this from happening, mind you, these people seeking shelter underneath these bridges, while they may stay for some period of time under those bridges, not harming anyone, and on supposed public property, which is supposed to belong to everybody, although no one seems to enforce that. Right, the belonging to everybody part, they don't enforce that.
Right.
Like they act like what it really is private property that belongs
get off
to
of
the
our
state.
Get off of our property.
Right, yeah. So what they did is they built these. They're just like little concrete pyramids. So, there's concrete underneath the bridges. Yeah. So they just repoured that with these little concrete pyramids that are spikes. So you can't lay down.
Like what they do with the birds.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a grocery store sign where they put the spikes there so birds can't make bird nests.
Right. So they do the same thing underneath the bridges so that
So
homeless
awful.
can't get shelter when it
And
rains.
that's the thing. So it's like, okay, you don't want them under the bridge, but like, what do you want them to do?
Well, so we already know the solution. I can't tell you how many charity organizations, churches, private citizens that had some property. There's a thing in the Seattle area called Tent City.
Yeah.
And that thing has moved and moved and moved and moved. It is basically a nomad culture of its own at this point, and it can't stay anywhere because the law won't allow it. So what happens to it is these charity organizations, mostly churches, will be like, we got a big piece of land that we're not using it. We'll host the thing for a while until the law says it can't anymore and comes in and either kicks them out or
fines them
or whatever. And so then they move it to another location. Well, the answer is allow these charity organizations to have these places permanently
and give them a home. Problem solved.
Perhaps employ them to do tasks around the church.
Yeah.
Give them purpose, right? Perhaps these charities can do things like, re-educate them, give them, mental health assistance, all the stuff that these humans actually need, right? That the state isn't going to give them. The state treats them as not human.
Yeah.
They treat them as a statistic.
And it's funny, they call them clients, too.
Well, and you hear a lot of the rhetoric, they're drug addicts, or they're alcoholics. Yeah, maybe. Most of them probably are.
I mean, what would you be if you were homeless, right?
Well, and that's the thing. I it's obviously being addicted to drugs isn't really conducive to keeping an apartment, keeping a job, all of these productive things.
Right.
But let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at the actual root cause of these issues. I mean, it starts with parenting, public schools, society, culture in the area,
mental health,
the CIA, distributing a bunch of fentanyl everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's how are these people becoming addicts? Why are they becoming homeless? Why can't they get a job even if they want a job? We need to look at the root cause. Because what government does, and even some of these churches and well-meaning organizations, is they're just putting a Band-Aid on the issue, and it is a larger scale societal issue that we haven't seen before. You know what I mean? Like hundreds of years ago, also people could just build huts.
Right.
And there weren't all these building codes and permits and regulations. Like you could just live in a tent somewhere in the woods and like that was cool. You know what I mean? Or live in a hut, whatever.
Right.
So this
before
is a
social security numbers.
Yeah, before social security numbers. This is a man-made issue.
It's
a government-made issue. And all of the solutions that all of these government officials are coming up with, they don't actually work. This is an issue that cannot be fixed.
Yeah, this could be solved on a community by community basis individually, and then like that creates a competitive market for solving the problem. Whichever community solves it in the best way may have those tactics adopted by other communities. But because government gets in the way, the best options can't even be investigated.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, a lot of people think it's an issue, but just based on like what I've seen on like, for example, the Keene, New Hampshire Facebook page, a lot, I don't want to say a lot, but at least some of these folks who find themselves living in tents, homeless, whatever, they don't want help. You know what I mean? Like they're like the help they want is like, does anybody have a tent heater so I don't freeze?
Yeah.
Like these people don't necessarily, maybe they are addicts, they don't want to go to treatment. Or maybe they're in recovery and they don't want to go into the homeless shelter because there's drug use in the homeless shelter. Maybe they just don't want to work and they don't want to, you know, like there are reasons why people are choosing to stay homeless. So it's like, also, how are we going to address that? Because if you're going to force someone into a job and into a living situation that they don't want, I mean, we're just wasting resources at this point because they literally don't want your help.
Right.
So, I mean, how are we going to address that? I mean, is someone not living how we are living? Is that an issue? If they want to live outside. Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be like they're like collective we, i.e. government, right, shouldn't have anything to do with that. It should be an individual choice. You should be free to not have a job, to not have a house,
not have a P.O. box,
a social security number, right?
Yeah.
You should be free to make all of those choices for yourself.
Maybe.
Are some of them bad choices? Perhaps they are. How does a person get by? That government should have nothing to do with that.
Absolutely.
Nor should collective we. The individual should have everything to do with that. If the individual finds themselves homeless, without a job, without any money, right, they got to figure out how they're going to get by. It's up to them. It's not up to the collective we. It's not up to government to figure that out.
Yeah, I think there's just so much babying that goes on. You know, and it seems like a lot of the population likes that. They want to be, I want my healthcare, universal healthcare, and I don't even want to pay for food. I just want food to be, you know, like all of these things where they just want to be so dependent on the system, and not everyone wants that. And some people, like, their version of living their best life looks differently. I mean, I've seen interviews with people who like hop on trains and they're homeless, but they travel the U.S. and whatever. Like they're just doing whatever they want to do. Yeah, like is that an issue? I don't really necessarily think so.
603-283-6160. Should you be free to be homeless or houseless? Give us a call. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Free Talk Live.
I was watching some videos of you and your crew of cronies on YouTube, and I was shocked at what I saw.
What did you see that was so shocking?
Degenerates that were harassing members of your community. I saw you chasing around some traffic lady, parking violation.
The parking attendants, yeah. Okay, so you saw some footage from Robin Hood of Keene where...
There's a whole bunch of that footage out there, and I can assure you, you didn't see me.
That wasn't really a Free Talk Live thing.
Incorrect.
All right, you got me. You got me. Lay it on me, prosecutor. What'd you see?
Incorrect. I would like you to address, are you guys receiving government benefits while you guys are doing this? I think you are.
No.
What would the benefit be?
Incorrect! Incorrect, sir!
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the third daily release of hostages, with the fourth and final set of prisoners expected to be set free on Monday. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. However, as FSN's Mia Alberti in Lebanon reports, the pause in fighting could be extended beyond the current 4-day agreement.
As we saw more hostages and prisoners being released on Sunday, we also saw a small glimpse of hope for the relatives of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, that both sides appear to be willing to extend this humanitarian pause. So obviously for both sides this would be a welcome news. And we also heard from Qatar, who has been mediating these talks between Israel and Hamas, saying that they are using all of the paths available to try and negotiate, to try and achieve this extension of this humanitarian pause, which in turn could lead to a long-term ceasefire.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is calling for the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting to be extended to allow for the release of more hostages. He spoke to reporters to confirm a 4-year-old American girl, Abigail Edan, was one of the 17 hostages set free on Sunday.
She's free and she's in Israel now. Those who are now wrapping Abigail in love and care and the supportive services she needs. She's been through a terrible trauma. She spent her birthday, and at least 50 days before that, held hostage by Hamas. Today, she's free under the brokered and sustained, though intensive U.S. diplomacy. We continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Biden also said he was hopeful the current 4-day truce could be extended so all the hostages, including other Americans, could be safely returned to their families. Meanwhile, the UN World Food Programme is warning Gaza may be on the brink of famine. The WFP's executive director, Cindy McCain, confirmed that the UN has managed to feed more than 110,000 people in Gaza since the pause in fighting. But she warned that much more help was still needed. Speaking to CBS, McCain also said other countries needed to help support the agency's efforts.
This is something that's not only terrific, but it will spread. And with that comes disease and everything else that you can't imagine. Bottom line, we need more trucks in, we need more aid in, we need to be able to have more access to be able to distribute the aid. The problem is not just the ability to not be able to feed. The problem is the world needs to step up.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, the fury in France over the new Ridley Scott film about Napoleon starring Joaquin Phoenix. It has just opened to rave reviews in the US and Europe, but French critics dismissed it as lazy, boring and inaccurate. Historian Simon Sharma says they might just be wrong.
The extraordinary thing about Napoleon is both good and bad. He is a prodigious genius, not just on the battlefield, but he's the ultimate micromanager of administration. But what is it all for? The answer is it's all for the most extraordinary ego trip. It doesn't, in the end, serve France very well. He was sort of profoundly reactionary. He reintroduced slavery, reintroduced it in France. He was bitterly reactionary about the nature of divorce. The revolution had made it possible for both wives to divorce their husbands and vice versa. Surprise, surprise, Napoleon, who had 22 mistresses, essentially gave all the rights to the husband. The only way a wife could get a divorce under Napoleon was if the husband actually brought his mistress home to live at home. So all that is like barbed wire for the historical memory in France.
French newspaper Le Figaro published a 132-page special magazine to mark the film's opening. A poll in France showed 74% of people think Napoleon's actions benefited the country. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again, Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the third daily release of hostages. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. US President Joe Biden is hopeful that the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting could be extended to allow the release of more hostages. But the UN's World Food Programme is warning that Gaza may be on the brink of famine. There's more from us on X at Feature Story. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
The Department of Health and Human Services has issued a new ban preventing the nation's saunas from any further use of tanning salons. The ruling was made after a study found that saunas are exposed to roughly 5,000 times more UV radiation each year than the average American.
They are at a very high risk of developing melanoma and orangey leathery skin. Saunas, you are tan enough.
The nation's saunas have reacted negatively to the ban.
I don't care what the government says. I just won $15 in scratches, so I'm getting a freaking tan. This sucks.
None of us have time for this shit. We've got Tammys at home to raise.
In an Onion News Network poll of saunas across the country, more than 30% argued that a pale complexion will negatively affect the size of their tips at Ruby Tuesdays. And more than half have said that their boyfriend's dentist liked them tan. And he's the father of their second child, so they want him to stick around.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
I've been listening to a lot of hair metal.
Dancing.
You know,
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
No, that was actually a joke. I haven't been.
Like who?
That was like my.
You listen to like. I'm trying to think of the worst hair metal bands.
I don't know.
Like Poison.
Yeah.
God, I hate those guys.
Rat.
Faster Pussycat.
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard of that one.
Pussycat. Faster Pussycat. Let me see who else. There's others. I can't. Kix. Kix, like the cereal.
No, you know what? I haven't heard of any of these.
Horrible.
Testament?
No,
they're
Testament's
a
thrash band. Yeah. You're thinking of. There's another. It's like
Poison.
It's like TNT. I think is the name of the band.
Oh.
Yeah, I said Poison already. White Lion.
White Snake. Yeah.
White Snake. Yeah. White Snake was actually a bit of an arena rock band who adopted the hair metal sort of.
Like Kiss too. It's like, is it hair metal? Is it arena rock?
Well, yeah. And Kiss is, well, I mean, they're legendary at least, right?
Detroit Rock City is a legendary song.
Kiss did this thing though, where they would like whenever the next fad of music would come around, they would do an entire album. So like Kiss, I think it's Dynasty, is like their disco album. Everything on there, everything on there's got like that, and like a bunch of tambourines, and it's just got a huge disco vibe to it. And then like another example is I think Animalize came out right after like Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister hit the scene with like We're Not Gonna Take It, and what's the Quiet Riot song I'm thinking of? Come on, feel the noise. Yeah. Once those hit the market, Kiss was like, we have to make an album of anthem rock, right? Because these are all these big, shouty, sort of thunderous drums, anthem type songs.
Which to me is like more what Kiss is.
Right. What they would do is literally copy the style du jour and then make an entire album of it and go out on tour.
They did a good job at that.
Tons of money.
Yeah.
Tons of money.
One of the first like reality shows I ever watched when I was a kid was the Gene Simmons Family Jewels show, which is actually it was a pretty funny show from what I remember. I never
watched any of that.
But basically what I learned from that was kind of low key Gene Simmons is a narcissist.
Oh,
because
you think?
Oh yeah,
jeez.
But basically,
look at my tongue.
Yeah, but you're
my
right.
boots.
Yeah, but basically, he monetized everything.
Yes.
Like there's a Kiss chair, lunchbox, computer.
Yeah.
There's a Kiss coffin. There's a Kiss coffin.
There's Kiss
that will play
everything.
Kiss. There's built-in 6-inch speakers all the way around. The coffin itself is the bass box with your body inside of it, and there's 6-inch speakers all the way around the thing. Kiss logos everywhere, and it will play your chosen Kiss playlist as you're lowered into the ground.
And that's the thing.
Oh, I thought this was something you'd have in your living room. No, you could actually
you get buried in. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really, yeah.
Just completely pointless.
Anyway, before we go on, this
Oh, jeez.
hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a tech perspective, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies. It's widely available on exchanges. It's also on the decentralized Maya protocol, and it's in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and easy to use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Again, visit dash.org to learn about Dash. That's dash.org. All right. We got suddenly the phones are packed.
Let's go to the wild card line.
Let's go to, I think this is Gigi in South Carolina. Gigi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening, everybody. I liked what you said. Leave it to local municipalities and communities to make their own decisions because every community is different financially, culturally, geographically, economically, politically. They are the best suited to make local decisions. I like what Nikki said.
Me too.
Yeah, but communism doesn't work that way, though. So.
Yeah, right.
I am no communist, honey. I'm a nice Jewish girl. With a big mouth. And I admit it. I don't know. Is Ian allowed to listen to the program or no?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't have an answer to that, and even if I did, I'm not sure I would tell everybody.
Everybody who's listening, I encourage everyone who believes in the basic foundation of this program, freedom of speech.
Yes.
And the courtesy all the hosts give to every caller, even Mr. David in New Mexico. Please send letters to Ian and or Aria if you feel you can. Last night after a gourmet feast I prepared for my significant other and myself, I sat down and composed a long, detailed, wonderful letter to Mr. Freeman, and we will mail it tomorrow. It will take him a good half an hour to read it.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
That's excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, because I love this program, and he was instrumental in making it possible for me to call in and voice my opinions.
Did you put your return address to the same address that you're sending the letter to?
Of course I did. I have
right.
nothing to be ashamed of or hide.
No. If you're
she
sending,
didn't understand the question.
Right.
Yeah.
So explain, Captain.
So, Gigi, there's this post office hack that exists, and I don't know if it still works.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, so that's what Steve was asking you, is if did you forego postage or did you pay postage?
I wasn't being focused.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay, yes, I understand. I was very careful not to write anything controversial or, shall we say, risque. I kept it very diplomatic. Believe me, it's a boring letter.
So you didn't mention the captain's clunky old big hard drive?
You're so cute. I love it. Well, funny you should mention that.
Oh, no.
I did not disclose that in the letter. But earlier this evening, my husband and I were watching television, and a commercial came on for this new company called Pretzels.com, and it starts out saying, "Do you like it hard or soft?"
Oh my gosh!
I was hysterical.
Oh my God! Awesome. Well, Gigi, thank you so much.
I was hysterical.
Thank you so much for the call.
The other reason
go
why
ahead.
I called is because I find it very interesting that for quite some time now, Congress in the United States continuously, consistently, repeatedly sends soldiers, weapons, ammunition, money, trains Ukrainian soldiers, the whole gambit, for Ukraine to fight the incursion with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we hear on the press every direction, every facet of political ideology. Putin is a fascist. He's an autocrat. He's a dictator. Well, I got news for you, everybody listening out there in Radio Land. The leader of Ukraine, I want to pronounce it properly, Mr. Zelensky,
mm-hmm.
He says, no, we're not going to have the scheduled elections. This is not a good time for it. Well, if you claim to be a democratic republic and you value essential civil liberties, where is the due process that should be accorded to Ukrainian men and women of voting eligibility? What is this baloney? All of a sudden, he makes a unilateral decision. It's not a good time to hold elections. He sounds like an autocrat.
He's a dictator.
Yep.
So why are we giving money to such a person?
That is a great question, and no one here has the answer to that, of course.
Oh, I do.
I do.
I can take a crack at it. There's that.
Somebody enlighten me, please.
So I think that the U.S. aspires to be just that. And that's why, these, government people that don't see an issue with all of these, atrocities that Ukraine is committing, it's because they think it's, admirable.
Well,
it reminds me of what people have been saying about Prime Minister Netanyahu. He has been attempting to circumvent an independent judiciary and the Supreme Court of Israel. What is he, an autocrat, a fascist autocrat? It's a disgrace. And all these populist, fascist, autocratic dictators are popping up left and right. Hungary, the Netherlands, Argentina, Slovakia, and lots of countries in Africa. And Tunisia you can include as well. And now I would include Zelensky. Who the hell is he to deny his people the right to vote?
Yes.
Gigi, don't hold back.
Oh, you know me. I admit it. Hey, but that commercial was so brilliant. Do you like it hard or soft? I looked at my husband and I said, I love this question.
Gigi, thank you so much for the call tonight. We appreciate you. That's hilarious. Moving right along, let's go to, I believe this is Mr. David Ridley of RidleyReport.com.
Something like that. Hey, you guys remember that I called a week or two ago about this this state rep who used to be a cop, and he's trying to keep his records as a cop secret?
Why would you do that?
So, well, yeah, good question, right? So there was a little bit of an answer to that question recently. So it wound up in front of the Supreme Court. He was trying to keep his records secret. And I'm looking at it's an article from indepthnh.org, and it says, quote, whatever is in the Claremont Police Department's internal affairs records that State Rep John Stone is trying to hide from the public gets bad, his lawyer told the Supreme Court.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
It's bad.
Doesn't sound like a very good attorney.
It will embarrass and humiliate my client and it will embarrass and humiliate multiple people in the city of Claremont.
Let's release it.
Attorney Peter Ducato said, unquote. Now, this is the attorney, he's trying to defend, this is the attorney who's trying to defend the former cop.
He's not doing a very good job.
So by the statements of the enemy shall you know him. Right? Isn't that the whole? Isn't that the whole point? It's supposed to humiliate multiple people in the city of Claremont.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, right?
Well, of course. I mean, if they're government people, I don't want to humiliate the people.
Right? Yeah, the government. I mean, like government really. They kind of do enough to humiliate themselves, but like people just have that veil of I don't even know what to call it. They government wash themselves, right? They can't see it. Like on a day-to-day basis, we try and cover things here that should be embarrassing to government people, right? And I think we do a pretty good job of that. But like the majority of people just don't see through it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be. Once you're a government worker, it's not private anymore. You're not supposed to be able to just cover up your records working for the government.
Right. Agreed.
Anyway, that's all. You can just find the article is on indepthnh.org. You can read the details there.
I'm sorry. What's the website? Where it's at? nh.org.
indepthnh.org.
Awesome. And where can people?
There's a lot of these nice little micro media outlets that are popping up now that the mainstream media has been bought and sold and whatever by the government. But there's like NH Journal and is another one. And you guys are another one, and I guess I'm another one. So it's we have that's where the real news is.
Agreed. Where can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Oh, I'm at RidleyReport.com.
.com. Thanks for the call, David. Dave Ridley, everyone.
Well, that's like Tim in Florida was saying that the internet was designed to spy on people, but now citizen journalists are taking advantage of, spreading information.
Moving right along, let's go to Rob in Vermont. Rob, you're on Free Talk Live. Rob?
On the other side of the river.
Rob. Hey, me, Rob. Unmute your phone.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Oh, okay. My phone must have muted on me. Sorry about that.
It's all right. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so there's a whole plethora of things that could be talked about here. One of the hair metal bands that I like is Motorhead. I think that band.
They're not hair metal.
They're not hair. They're metal band.
Those guys are punk rock, hard rock, bordering on heavy metal. Like some people
their greatest hits is hair metal.
Some people credit Motorhead as the inventors of speed metal. So not hair metal. They didn't walk around on stage with like rainbow spandex and aqua-netted hair and ladies lingerie and all that kind of stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like Motorhead was leather, drinking, smoking, raising hell. Giving a middle finger to the man. Rebels to the max.
Absolutely, that's the way it should be.
Well,
But I did hear, though, a story about a 80s metal band that, who was it, the band Warrant.
Yeah, that's another band I hate.
Yeah.
What is it?
Warrant.
The name of the band is Warrant, but I caught wind of a video a couple of weeks ago where it was said and alleged that Rob Halford from Judas Priest drugged him and raped him.
Oh, she's come back with a warrant, huh?
I'm not laughing at the rape. I'm laughing because of the accusation. I heard something similar to that about Glenn Danzig of all people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like some kid was like, I went in the bathroom and Glenn Danzig was in there.
Whoa.
Kind of a thing.
No, Paul Stanley plays a part in this. I'm not sure though.
Oh my God! Well,
who sang the song "The Final Countdown"? That's a hair metal band.
It's Europe.
Europe.
Yeah. Oh, Europe. Yeah.
Warrant's big song was "Cherry Pie."
Oh, right.
Yep.
That's Warrant. Yeah, crappy band.
One hit wonder, basically.
They were the biggest thing since Kool-Aid without sugar for years, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Jello without carrots.
Well, it's hard to not be bigger than that.
The only Jello that I like is green Jello.
Yeah.
The band Green Jello.
Yeah, they made them change their name. Stupid Jello people.
Yeah.
Jello
now they're called officially Green Jelly, right? But when you go to the show, they're like, yeah, I'm going to Green Jello. Everybody still calls them Green Jello, but like they have to spell it Jelly because of lawsuit. Yeah.
The O is or the Y is silent.
A little bit about what the last caller that called in, and that is that these cops that are in the state of New Hampshire, they're trying to fight to keep their names off the Lori list, and these are people that have done a lot of horrible things.
For those who don't know, the Lori list is, well, tell them what it is, Rob.
The Lori list is a list of police officers in the state of New Hampshire that have committed crimes, but have been protected by qualified immunity.
Right.
The ESS is what is it pronounced? Exculpatory evidence secluded, I believe.
Yep.
But there's if you go to the Attorney General's website in New Hampshire, you'll find the list of officers that have credibility issues, and I would recommend that people check that periodically. And these people that break the law, they need to have a name put to their face.
Yes.
Like a registration, online registration.
Yeah. Because it's more egregious, in my opinion, for somebody who's, supposedly a policeman, right? Wearing the badge and the uniform and the gun and the baton and, all that thing. It's more egregious to me for somebody in that position to be a horrible person, to be a lawbreaker, than a regular person. And for whatever reason, you would think that the punishment for sort of taking advantage of that position would be higher than it would for anybody else.
Right, it's a higher standard.
But no, it's lower, if there's one at all, as evidenced by this Lori list.
To protect and serve.
Yeah.
Well, equally disturbing about this also is that you have police officers that are on the Lori list that are still police officers, or that
surprise,
instead of being a police officer, now they work for the county attorney's office.
Yep.
And they're on, and they're being investigated with the Lori list. It just proves that the people that work in these county offices, they all sleep in the same bed together, along with attorneys.
It's a big club. We ain't in it.
Mm. Unless the attorney says, "Well, we don't want this stuff to come out because it's going to be embarrassing." That's a great attorney.
Right.
We need more attorneys like that.
I want to see that come out because I pay taxes, just like we all do, and I want to know what that cop has been up to, and whatever it is, so be it.
Yeah, how
if you
like
broke the law, you should be punished.
To loop this back around to like rock stars, right? You know how like once a rock star gets famous, they lose their privacy. Yeah. Right? All of a sudden they got paparazzi in their face, they got people writing articles, they got people following them around, they got private investigators trailing them, all that kind of stuff. They try to get information from their friends circle and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's a pretty transparent life. Once you achieve some sort of, musical fame, right, you lead a rather transparent life.
Or
same thing for like actors, right, that kind of a thing. So if we take that as the benchmark of a non-private life, right, a rather public life that you have to live, the transparency of anyone employed by government should be double as transparent.
100%.
100% transparent or more, like more transparent. Like no part of their life should be beyond scrutiny in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, should have a higher level of scrutiny. And because it doesn't, tells you all you need to know about the system. It is not designed to protect you. They're not there to serve and protect you. They're to serve and protect the system, not you.
I wonder if you could have an open server, like any email that goes anywhere, you could see it. Wouldn't that be great?
It'd be great. Hey, Rob, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160 is the number. We'll get more of your calls and thoughts. We'll have more on our number 2 story. And what the heck happened at Taco Bell and why you shouldn't ask for guacamole.
Is that a burrito in your pocket?
Or are you happy to see me? It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the 3rd daily release of hostages, with the 4th and final set of prisoners expected to be set free on Monday. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. However, as FSN's Mia Alberti in Lebanon reports, the pause in fighting could be extended beyond the current 4-day agreement.
As we saw more hostages and prisoners being released on Sunday, we also saw a small glimpse of hope for the relatives of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, that both sides appear to be willing to extend this humanitarian pause. So obviously for both sides this would be a welcome news. And we also heard from Qatar, who has been mediating these talks between Israel and Hamas, saying that they are using all of the paths available to try and negotiate, to try and achieve this extension of this humanitarian pause, which in turn could lead to a long-term ceasefire.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is calling for the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting to be extended to allow for the release of more hostages. He spoke to reporters to confirm a 4-year-old American girl, Abigail Edan, was one of the 17 hostages set free on Sunday.
She's free and she's in Israel now. Those who are now wrapping Abigail in love and care and the supportive services she needs. She's been through a terrible trauma. She spent her birthday, and at least 50 days before that, held hostage by Hamas. Today, she's free under the brokered and sustained, though intensive U.S. diplomacy. We continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Biden also said he was hopeful the current 4-day truce could be extended so all the hostages, including other Americans, could be safely returned to their families. Meanwhile, the UN World Food Programme is warning Gaza may be on the brink of famine. The WFP's executive director, Cindy McCain, confirmed that the UN has managed to feed more than 110,000 people in Gaza since the pause in fighting. But she warned that much more help was still needed. Speaking to CBS, McCain also said other countries needed to help support the agency's efforts.
This is something that's not only terrific, but it will spread. And with that comes disease and everything else that you can't imagine. Bottom line, we need more trucks in, we need more aid in, we need to be able to have more access to be able to distribute the aid. The problem is not just the ability to not be able to feed. The problem is the world needs to step up.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
And we're live. And we're talking.
And we're back.
And it's free for you to listen.
We're back. And we're back.
What does that make? Well, that makes Free Talk Live. If you're not familiar with us, visit freetalklive.com. Before we go on, one of our previous callers, Gigi, had mentioned that she had written a nice letter to Mr. Ian Freeman, who is currently in Merrimack County Jail, awaiting some further trials whilst serving his 8-year sentence.
Boo!
For the crime of selling Bitcoin to willing customers whom he KYC'd far more strictly than any exchange or bank could have or would have done. He literally got their express written consent. He got photos of them, their driver, it's all that kind of stuff. But because the government wants to shoehorn Bitcoin into laws that existed well before Bitcoin was even invented, a jury convicted him. Even though the state itself admitted there were no victims. So, yeah, this is a tough one to figure out for us, guys.
Yeah, they're coming for your kids' lemonade stand next.
But at any rate, I am going to post on all of our social media a link to freekeen.com. It's a direct link that has the article where you can find the address to write Ian Freeman. I will also post the same for Aria DiMezzo. She's one of the other first chair hosts of this program. And she is serving 18 months for not getting government permission to sell Bitcoin.
Permit.
Yeah.
A license.
Unlicensed selling of this thing that didn't exist before the laws they've convicted her under existed. So, yeah, it's anyway, they could use, some letters. So I'm going to post that information to all of our social media sites. If you don't see it, in the next 10 minutes or so, look again a little bit later. But it will be there. I'll try to post these things pretty regularly when I'm here in the studio so that, if you need to find it, you can. But they would appreciate hearing from you. And it doesn't even have to be anything, special or spectacular. Gigi, I think, went
a half an hour.
Well above and beyond the call here. But, if you just want to drop a postcard, hey, man, I'm in this place, thinking about you. Or, hey, I saw something on the news about Bitcoin or something, or whatever, whatever's on your mind, update them. Even if you don't like him and you want to cuss him out and, say lots of bad things.
Right, like the
Maybe
stop free keen people.
Yeah.
That's great.
It wouldn't be the first time he has received mail of that nature, so, but that information will be there for you. Knowing Ian, if he got a few of those, I'm sure he'd be like,
good laugh.
Yep, still got the haters. You're doing it right if you got haters. That's
right.
Yeah.
It's a sad fact of humanity, but it's just the way it is. So anyway, please write to both Ian and Aria in jail. I will post that to our social media. What were we talking about?
Good question.
Oh, yeah,
the number 2 story.
We were still on the number 2 story. We didn't get very far into it either. We talked about this guy, let's see, John Caldera, who has dumped human poop that he found outside of his business.
Awesome.
He didn't dump.
So it was dumped, and then he picked it up and then dumped it. He redumped it.
He dropped off the package.
Yes.
It's a pretty big package.
He's a redumper. Somebody dumped in front of his business. He scooped it somehow. We haven't gotten into the how. I don't know if the article addresses that at all. But then he dumped that on the steps of the Denver City and County building. This says on Monday, but this is from
no better place to dump it.
Probably October or something like that when this occurred. This is a present from the homeless to the people who have kept this homeless problem going, he said. Here's a gift.
It's a present.
President of the Independent Institute, a think tank in downtown Denver, Caldera, says he's tired of the homeless using his private property as their public restroom. He says at least twice a week, security cameras catch a homeless person defecating outside his business or worse.
Worse?
Worse than his business? What do you mean?
What's worse?
Wait, what?
Worse than defecating?
Or worse?
Yeah. We have to clean up vomit and urine and syringes and use condoms and feces.
I guess that's worse.
Ew. Yeah.
We didn't cause the homeless problem in Denver, but we have to clean up after it, Caldera said. Caldera says he's tried appealing to police and Johnston to no avail. Johnston being, the mayor or something of Denver. The answer, he says, isn't tiny homes, it's jail cells. He wants to put the homeless in jail.
Oh, great.
This is not an affordable housing crisis. This is a drug crisis. This is a mental health crisis. This is a crisis of law. Not necessarily.
This guy
disagree
went
with those
from being
statements.
like funny to being a jerk.
That these people who need help will never get help if they're not brought to jail where they're forced to get some help. Oh, I see.
Oh, they get help
It's a
in
lie.
jail. Yeah,
Right. He believes that they're going to get medical care, mental health care.
No,
in
he's
jail.
misinformed,
Right.
unfortunately, because that's not what happens. It actually gets worse once you go to jail.
While Caldera isn't the first person to poo-poo the work of city leaders.
Oh,
at least the author's got a
city
sense of humor.
officials with the Sean Connery.
He may well be the first to leave poo on the steps of City Hall, but he hopes he's not the last.
It's awesome.
I would just start paying the homeless people to poop on the steps
Right.
of the city hall.
Right, give them a
You know
map.
what I mean?
Here's how to go to. Here's the bathroom.
Yeah.
Is at City Hall. Right.
It's
on
like,
the
you want
front
a
steps.
job?
Yeah.
I'll give you a job.
Yeah.
Deliver your
Here's $5. Deliver your package over here next time.
In fact, it'll be a business. Legitimately, do your business.
Yeah.
At City Hall.
At City Hall.
All right, there's a little bit more to this story, but let's go to Ricky from the Commonwealth, who's been holding for quite some time.
Thank you there, brother Captain. And who's that be there, gentlemen?
It's Steve Classic.
Steve
It is Brother Steve, and of course, Sister Nikki, no doubt. Well, I did want to say at the top of this, now you had me, caught me off guard, but I will tell you, tonight's topic is going to be about Kiss. But Brother Captain, I will at the same time call you next week and tell you an amazing Kiss story that I can't say on the air. And you'll love it. Next week, same time. Now, here's one thing I will say. The other thing I was saying is I wanted to have it yourself and Brother Ian indisposed. But when I come to New Hampshire, me and my campaign manager, I will have that, you put down, you want to have a smoke with Ricky from the Commonwealth, and then you'll get far out, and you'll find out all kinds of things who Ricky from the Commonwealth really is. No doubt.
What if I don't want to know those things? Can I still come and smoke out
Oh,
with you?
you want to know, brother. Captain, I know you do. No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I promise you. But now to another thing. We're going to talk about Kiss tonight. Now I'm a big Kiss fan, and I always have been.
I didn't know that.
But you didn't know that? Well, I'm into rock and roll. You got to love Kiss. I mean, in all honesty, they are rock and roll. I mean, they a whole lot in the 70s especially,
They are legendary.
First concert I
They
ever
are,
saw
they
was
are,
Kiss.
they are. But I will tell you some things. I mean, Kiss, to me, probably, I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not. To me, the most amazing thing they did, and it's personal to me, and, that's Music from the Elder, with Eric Carr on drums. And I loved Eric Carr. He wasn't a good talker, but he was one hell of a drummer. Beat the hell out of Peter Criss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a shame for Eric Carr. It really is. But to me, if you listen to tracks 2, 4, and 5 of the remastered edition, I find that personally important. And, to those who understand its wisdom, I love Gene because Gene's a piece of work. Oh, I picked up this story somewhere and, yeah, sure, Gene. To those who understand. I love Gene. You remember when he brought out Kissology? Oh, it's a good game for the fans to play. And I love it. Sure, Gene. Sticking them in this store, and that store. Oh, no, that's all right. People like me committed crimes, according to him. Gene would have been pissed if he had found out what we were doing with his little copies.
Ricky, do you remember Gene Simmons making Oprah Winfrey blush?
I do not.
So he and I think it was him and Paul Stanley appear on Oprah Winfrey. I think this might have been around the Animalize era, right? Mid 80s, kind of thing. And so they're talking about, whatever, they're promoting their album and they're talking about, their legendary status as rock and rollers. And then conversation gets around to it. Oprah says, so Gene, there's a lot of talk about your tongue. And of course the crowd goes, ooh, right? And Oprah goes, Gene, how long is your tongue anyway? And he just pauses for a minute, looks Oprah in the eye and says, long enough to make you my very best friend.
Oh my God.
And the crowd went, ah! And you literally saw Oprah Winfrey blush. I've never seen that happen, but it did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I got some more Kiss stuff. Now, here's another one. Now, one thing about I had a friend of mine, and he has panic disorder, and all I have to do is say, Peter Chris sucks, and he would just flip out, But I'll tell you, that's the one thing that pissed me off is when he went on Tom Snyder and totally dumped ass on Kiss, and I will never forget Peter for that. But here's the funny thing, and I'll get back to him in a minute. Now, the sad part of Kiss would be Ace Frehley. Now, the fact is, on the Love Gun tour, he did grab a hold of that railing, and he did get electrocuted. Now, it was kept a deep, dark secret, except those that were in the music community.
Yep.
And he finally did come out with it, that Ace Frehley, did damage the hell out of his hand. And he got addicted to painkillers.
Among other things, yeah. Yeah, that guy was doing a bunch of drugs
for a long time till he finally came out. The funny thing is, I love about these guys. Now, the funny thing, now, Peter left, and then Ace left. Now, Ace was like, packing in the Meadowlands. And Peter Chris, after he dumped on him, he's like in front of 5-6 people in the Poconos,
The TikTok in.
Peter.
Yeah.
Well, here's another one. The funny thing about the reunion tour is...
Which one? They've had like 30 of them.
Well, no. I'm talking the big one with Psycho Circus. The funny thing is I remember my friend, and I've always been honest. Like when Rob Zombie came out with Dragula, I stuck up for him, But here's the thing. When it comes to Kiss, I got to be honest here. I remember a friend of mine, and that's going to come into that story next week. But anyways, I said to him, we both bought it. And I said, you know what? It's not very good. Oh, come on, man, the whole thing. I said, no, listen to it again. He hit me next week. He said, you know what, man, it's not very good. And the tour sucked too. But what's really fascinating? The funny thing about the whole thing is that this time when they came back together, Ace left. Mm-hmm. But Peter Chris, man, he hung on for dear life, so they had to kick him out.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Gene got tired of him.
Well, Paul too, and you know what, Peter was never the right drummer for him. I hate to say it, it's a shame what happened to Eric Carr, because if anybody listens to his drumming on the Elder, amongst other things, it's wild. I mean, he puts Peter Chris to shame. Peter just is he's an okay drummer, but he's not that great. That's the reality.
Yep.
And you know what Eric did Beth way the hell better than Peter ever did. I bet you that pissed him off.
Anything else you want to add tonight, Ricky?
Just that I'm looking forward to seeing you one of these in the future, me and my campaign manager. And, I'll definitely tell you that story. That one I can tell you in the studio. The other ones, no offense to Sister Nikki or Steve, but these things, some of them are so personal about me. I would only trust yourself, Captain, and Brother Ian. But Brother Ian's indisposable. Let me ask you, what's the story on Brother Ian? Is he serving out his full sentence now? What happened to the appeal?
Well, so appeals take a legendarily long time to happen in federal court, specifically in a federal court that isn't very busy. So as you can imagine, the federal court of New Hampshire hears very few cases. And in fact, just trying Ia and Arian, Arya and Ian here in New Hampshire was probably one of the busiest times the federal court in New Hampshire has ever had. Because we have two back to back. Now, it's not to say that there aren't other cases going on and that kind of thing, but as far as their level of busy work goes, these are probably the two biggest. At least of the last decade.
Then they can go back on vacation.
Right. So, now they're sitting back. So, what was your question? I was trying to answer it.
What's the status?
Appeal status? So, he's currently in Merrimack County until either one or two more, I'm going to call them meetings. They're not hearings. I don't know what to call them. The first one that's going to happen is something about to decide whether or not the court believes Ian owes money as restitution to the no victims that were there, according to the state. And then if that is a yes, then there's another hearing, if you will, a meeting to decide just how much he owes. They can't decide them both at the same time for some reason. I don't know why. Government bureaucracy. Oh, no, we can't possibly do two things at the same time. Right.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Captain, because the one thing I want to say, I always try to keep my promises. When I came back after that 5 years, and, Brother Ian heard my voice. I called the old number, by the way, the free number. That's how and I heard the new number, but I promised him that I would say, hold on, I can't answer. I don't think so. Anyways, fact of the matter is, I can on the air. Anyways, I'm sorry I'm interrupted, Captain. Anyways, I promised Brother Ian. Somebody's knocking on my door. Anyways, I promised that I would tell Brother Ian the story about my disappearance.
Right.
And I didn't get the chance. But, I do want to wait until he comes out on appeal, and I will give you that promise. But I will tell you what he told me. And, he said it was all over the forums.
Yep.
I guess the general consensus was that Ricky from the Commonwealth is dead and the deep state finally got him. Well,
geez.
you're not quite there, but I think that was the idea. They wouldn't have slinged me away for 20 years. And if I would have been around when Brother Ian decided to go to court, I would have said, don't get a jury. Because if I would have got a jury, it wouldn't have turned out the same way as it did for me. I promise you.
Yeah. Hey,
I got a judge, a Pennsylvania judge.
Hey, Ricky, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160 if you want to join us. Let's circle back around to the rest of this bit from our number 2 story, talking about a man named Caldara who's had a problem with homeless people, not only, doing drugs, urinating, vomiting, but also defecating on his property. He got so tired of it that he decided to scoop the poop and dump it on the steps of the city building and the county municipal building.
The repository.
Making a depository to the repository. Something. And he, he's giving his opinion on, what's causing the homeless, et cetera, and so on. It says, while Caldera isn't the first person to poo-poo the work of city leaders, he may well be the first to leave poo on the steps of the city hall, but hopes he's not the last. In the meantime, he says he'll continue to dump on City Hall and urged other Denverites to do the same. I never knew what they called Denverites. Yeah, it was like the Denvernonians, Denverers, Denvernons, Denverites, apparently. Next time you clean it up, drop it off here. Drop it off at City Hall as an act of civil disobedience to ask them, to demand of them to address the problem.
I couldn't imagine having to clean up human waste on the ground outside of my business.
And then put it in your car and drive it to City Hall.
I mean, that's crazy.
Well,
but,
you gotta have,
just in
like
general,
had it up to here or whatever.
Yeah.
To,
but just in general, I couldn't imagine someone defecating in front. Like if I had a storefront, those are the things that just don't happen around here.
Right. It's like Frisco, right?
Yeah.
Right. The powers that be, your local news, your local your politicians in general, would have you believe that, the inflation is over. We've stopped the inflation. No.
Right.
No. Have you looked at the prices of the stuff that you buy at the grocery store? Yeah, inflation's not over. When it costs as much for you to drive through to get a value meal at your favorite, local fast food restaurant as it does to get a meal at any chain sit-down restaurant. Inflation is here.
The $18 Big Mac.
Away. Yeah. We did a story on that, so... As Caldera dumped human excrement on the steps of City Hall, city workers cleaned up a homeless encampment on 8th Avenue and Logan Street for the first time. They offered housing ahead of the move. For the first time. The homeless have been a problem since before I was born. But for the first time, they finally got ahead of the ball and went, we should take care of these people as human beings before we eject them and clean up. Oh, man. Anyway. It's move-in day for around 70 people living in an encampment in a place they can call home. As part of our homelessness initiative, the city has provided trash pickup for many encampments across the city to support both the residents living in the encampment as well as those who use the public spaces. Mayor Johnston is focused on actions. This is just a politician bloviating about, here's what I've done. You haven't done jack.
Nothing.
The city is hosting several town halls this week so neighbors can weigh in on possible locations for this politician's supposed solutions. Hopefully you bring a big bag of feces with you. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
And a
so,
lighter.
so this guy had to leave crap on their doorstep for them to like actually address this?
Yes.
Like that's what needed
He's
to
going to
happen.
keep doing it until they fix the problem.
Well, and
I guess.
only to address it, not to fix it. Not to like do anything
just
about
to,
it,
like, say
but
something
just to get
about
a
it.
politician to like,
Wake
a
up.
reporter contacted me. I guess I better say something, and sound smart while I do it. Like, oh no, I'm not a lazy ass who doesn't give an FCC.
We're putting more taxpayer dollars into trying to figure out a solution.
We're gonna hire some people to form a committee,
a blue ribbon panel, That's what we need.
and they'll sit down and do nothing for several years. And we'll pay them great salaries for doing it. And then, in the end, nothing will have been accomplished and the homeless problem will still be here. That's how government works.
And then the reason it didn't work is because they didn't have enough money. So they'd blame it like, well, we need to increase the budget.
Well, if we just had another committee.
With more money.
They used up the budget paying the salaries of the people to be on the committee instead of using that money to actually do something. Right? If you pay attention, listeners, to governments at all, you are going to see that everything that you see from government is a rerun. It's like they're in syndication. You've seen this episode before. Yeah. You know what's going to... It's so easy to predict once you start paying attention. It's easy to predict what they're going to do.
Nothing.
Nothing.
They're going to do nothing.
Nothing. Here's what they will do. They will bloviate about it, which means like speak, use lots of large words, say things that sound impressive, but like don't really actually accomplish anything.
The blue ribbon panel.
Then they'll do something, like I said, form a committee. They'll get some sort of budget allocated, which means, taxing, more taxation, or taxes removed from some other program to pay this one, right? Then they're going to pay these people these giant salaries to think about the problem, and they're not going to do anything, and then 2 years later, when the next person gets elected, that whole committee is gone and the budget gets cut and nothing ever happens. Nothing changes. It's a rerun. Pay attention. I don't have a segue for the next thing. Other than, so our last story was the number 2 story.
Well, this kind of ties into number 2.
This is right, because I always say, like, if you're on the road and you need to relieve your bowels, stop into Taco Bell, because if you've ever eaten there, they kind of owe you one.
It's like eating laxatives, I guess.
This is for what happened to my toilet. This is what you get.
It's
Taco
retribution.
Bell.
Exactly. Right? You make
Taco
this
Bell.
stuff, and when it's filtered through me, this is what comes out of the other end.
You're getting it back.
Anyway, this from KTLA.com out of L.A. La, if you pronounce it.
La.
Yes. Headline reads, raunchy alcohol-fueled Taco Bell party included open sex, lawsuit claims.
Oh, okay.
So this can be like, we'll say a segue from the number 2 story into Sexy Sunday.
There we go. Okay.
We haven't done
I'll
a
take
Sexy
it.
Sunday.
I mean, it's Taco
already.
Bell. It is number 2. It's a number 2 story. So, related.
I wonder how many, like the one here in town is a Kentucky Fried Taco Bell.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Combo.
You're like,
Yeah. Love a good combo.
you're like, can I get an extra crispy breast and a burrito?
Yeah.
It's the most mismatched pair. Like they used to have. I remember seeing Taco Bell Pizza Huts. Right.
Oh, it's the same company.
And I'm like, right, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense because it's the same company, but also like,
They're trying to save on the rent.
absolutely, right. But I'm thinking like, what kind of creative foods can you make out of that yourself if you frequent these places, right?
So
you can get like a personal pan pizza that's cheese, but then just get a regular burrito and like dump all the toppings out on your pizza. Now you've got a taco pizza.
Go to Taco Hut.
Yeah. So in a pinch,
Pizza Bell Taco Hut.
Pizza Bell.
So in a pinch, I used to like after a concert, it's 2 a.m., nothing's open but Taco Bell. So you go to Taco Bell, and I used to really enjoy the spicy potato taco. That was like my favorite thing to get there. And I went to a Taco Bell KFC mashup, and they didn't have the regular potatoes. They didn't have the Taco Bell potatoes. So they were like, well, we'll just
Mashed
throw
potato.
some of the KFC.
Mashed potatoes?
Yeah.
Not mashed potatoes, but the other ones.
Coming up, we'll find out what happened at this raunchy alcohol-fueled Taco Bell party that included open sex. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Tired of the ever-inflating US dollar? You can live your life on Dash instead with some handy websites. BitRefill.com has been accepting Dash for years and has a ton of big-name retailers and brands including grocers, gas stations, phone refills, Amazon, and even prepaid MasterCards. Plus, many of their gift cards are available at a discount. But what about paying your bills? Spritz.finance can do that, and they can send dollars to your bank account in case you still need those for some reason. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at Dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit Dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the third daily release of hostages, with the fourth and final set of prisoners expected to be set free on Monday. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. However, as FSN's Mia Alberti in Lebanon reports, the pause in fighting could be extended beyond the current 4-day agreement.
As we saw more hostages and prisoners being released on Sunday, we also saw a small glimpse of hope for the relatives of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, that both sides appear to be willing to extend this humanitarian pause. So obviously for both sides this would be a welcome news. And we also heard from Qatar, who has been mediating these talks between Israel and Hamas, saying that they are using all of the paths available to try and negotiate, to try and achieve this extension of this humanitarian pause, which in turn could lead to a long-term ceasefire.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is calling for the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting to be extended to allow for the release of more hostages. He spoke to reporters to confirm a 4-year-old American girl, Abigail Edan, was one of the 17 hostages set free on Sunday.
She's free and she's in Israel now. Those who are now wrapping Abigail in love and care and the supportive services she needs. She's been through a terrible trauma. She spent her birthday, and at least 50 days before that, held hostage by Hamas. Today, she's free under the brokered and sustained, though intensive U.S. diplomacy. We continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Biden also said he was hopeful the current 4-day truce could be extended so all the hostages, including other Americans, could be safely returned to their families. Meanwhile, the UN World Food Programme is warning Gaza may be on the brink of famine. The WFP's executive director, Cindy McCain, confirmed that the UN has managed to feed more than 110,000 people in Gaza since the pause in fighting. But she warned that much more help was still needed. Speaking to CBS, McCain also said other countries needed to help support the agency's efforts.
This is something that's not only terrific, but it will spread. And with that comes disease and everything else that you can't imagine. Bottom line, we need more trucks in, we need more aid in, we need to be able to have more access to be able to distribute the aid. The problem is not just the ability to not be able to feed. The problem is the world needs to step up.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, the fury in France over the new Ridley Scott film about Napoleon starring Joaquin Phoenix. It has just opened to rave reviews in the US and Europe, but French critics dismissed it as lazy, boring and inaccurate. Historian Simon Sharma says they might just be wrong.
The extraordinary thing about Napoleon is both good and bad. He is a prodigious genius, not just on the battlefield, but he's the ultimate micromanager of administration. But what is it all for? The answer is it's all for the most extraordinary ego trip. It doesn't, in the end, serve France very well. He was sort of profoundly reactionary. He reintroduced slavery, reintroduced it in France. He was bitterly reactionary about the nature of divorce. The revolution had made it possible for both wives to divorce their husband and vice versa. Surprise, surprise, Napoleon, who had 22 mistresses, essentially gave all the rights to the husband. The only way a wife could get a divorce under Napoleon was if the husband actually brought his mistress home to live at home. So all that is like barbed wire for the historical memory in France.
French newspaper Le Figaro published a 132-page special magazine to mark the film's opening. A poll in France showed 74% of people think Napoleon's actions benefited the country. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the third daily release of hostages. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. US President Joe Biden is hopeful that the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting could be extended to allow the release of more hostages. But the UN's World Food Programme is warning that Gaza may be on the brink of famine. There's more from us on X at Feature Story. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
According to a report released this week, people who paint themselves silver and pretend to be statues earn, on average, $10 million per year. The Onion sat down with economist Mark Cosgrave to learn more about the money-making potential of this highly lucrative employment path.
There's no more profitable career at the moment. If you compare these positions to other high-paying jobs, say physicians or mechanical engineers, you'll find that those individuals who have outfitted themselves with silver-painted boxes and can move their limbs stiffly as if they were a robot are making literally hundreds of times as much. At this point, I would say that the only job that offers anywhere near that kind of earning potential is dressing up like Batman and allowing people to pose for photos with you. And those guys who play paint buckets like drums have historically done well for themselves. But honestly, the recession hit these professions pretty hard, and a lot of them are only making something like $800,000 a year at this point. It's barely even worth their time.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
Everyone's like turning down.
Yeah. Wow.
Turning down.
Jeez, pushing the compressor.
Would you prefer we do like I could do some Creed and we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Hello, we're back. It's Free Talk Live.
Yeah.
It's like Creed is like got that sort of almost like a country vibe. That
It
same thing
sounds
with like
the same as like Eddie Vedder.
right. It's like Pearl Jam. Except Eddie Vedder just shakes his head a bunch, so it's like
the tick.
Jeremy smoking grass today.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yes, I have parodies for
Yeah,
literally
of course.
everything.
Of course.
It's not true, not everything.
Especially stuff like Pearl Jam, where you can't really understand the words. It's way easier to parody. It's like, you create a parody just trying to figure out what the actual lyrics are.
It is Free Talk Live, in case you're wondering what you're listening to. If you're just tuning in, you can find out more about us over at freetalklive.com. It's the Sunday night edition, which means we do things a little bit differently. Try to take things a little bit lighter, have a little more fun. because like a lot of the stuff we talk about is very, very serious, but it's important to be entertaining, and so we sort of like take that seriously.
Scour the internet for number 2 stories.
Certainly do. Man,
talk about doing that
does
work.
not disappoint. No.
Talk about a gold mine, if you will.
Yeah.
a brown mine. I don't know.
Brown Friday.
How else to describe that? But one of the things that helps keep this show going is those people who've decided to become amplifiers of Free Talk Live. What does that mean? Well, you can visit amps.freetalklive.com and find out all about the amplifier program. Essentially, it's where you get to donate some money to our AMPS program. It's a Patreon type setup, so you get some perks, some little benefits to being an amplifier, such as the commercial-free version of Free Talk Live.
Yeah.
On the podcast side there. But that's not why you should contribute. You should contribute because you enjoy the hosts, the co-hosts, the callers, the topics, the perspective that we bring to you of peace, freedom, liberty, and prosperity, and help get this program onto more radio stations. That's where most of that fundage goes to. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. So that's what you're doing. Becoming an amplifier, you're helping us advertise, market, promote, and support. So I have to say thank you to Nick Barnett. Nick Barnett is a silver level amplifier. That means he gives us $5 a month. That's all we ask for. It's $5. You can give more. You can give 10, 25. There's a bunch of different levels.
It's like a gold back.
Yeah.
A gold back a month.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Roughly.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
I think it's the best use of your Liberty Dollar. If you want to help spread the message of freedom, please consider becoming an amplifier over at amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again to Nick Barnett for being today's amplifier. We appreciate you. So, moving on, we were talking about this headline. Raunchy alcohol-fueled Taco Bell party included open sex, this lawsuit claims.
That's just clickbait. Come on.
Or is it?
Or is it?
Or is it
Well, we clicked on it, certainly.
Or is it just taco filling?
Or did Taco Bell just put this out for advertising? So they get their Taco Bell.
I mean, why else would you go to Taco Bell?
It's entirely possible. Before we get into that story, though, let's go to Major Payne in Michigan. Major, what's on your mind?
Good evening, guys, and Nikki. Well, this kind of ties into your number 2 story and the homeless crisis that's going on in pretty much every major city in the United States anymore.
Dude, we're in Keene, New Hampshire, and it's got like a population of maybe 25,000 people, and there are a bunch of homeless people here. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I'm just saying the bigger ones, the ones that have declared themselves like, what do they call them, where you can't be prosecuted or...
Sanctuary City?
Oh, the sanctuary cities, right, yeah.
Yeah, with the shoot-up zones or whatever.
Yep. Free needles.
Well,
what?
The Texas governor and the Florida governor and I don't know how many other southern states that are being bombarded with all these border crossings. The Biden administration, kind of on the hush-hush, this has been going on for over a year now. They've been sending massive amounts of sky marshals because that's, of course, one of the government's private police forces, and they don't have to bring it to light down to the border to help curtail the situation.
I saw a headline about that. Yeah, I saw a headline about that recently.
Though they don't admit that there's a problem, they're trying to do something about the problem that doesn't exist.
With the quiet force, right?
What were they using the Sky Marshals for specifically? Do you remember?
Yeah, no, not down there, but they're taking them off of all the, local and international flights. So people still have a false sense of security, thinking that there might be one of these jamokes on board. But the Sky Marshal all goes back to the 9/11 hijacking, which we all know was a farce. And the government created that as that's the game they play. They create a problem and then they pretend to come in and fix it, though they don't.
Yes, the Hegelian dialectic is the term for that. It's problem, reaction, solution. Government creates a problem, it declares that it's the problem, and then it declares it reacts to the problem and says something must be done about it, and then it declares that it has a solution to the problem it created, and everybody goes, "Oh, thank you, government, you're so nice," even though their solution doesn't really solve anything.
It's going to take an act of Congress. Well, then we could do that.
That's all Congress does is act like they have a job, act like they do anything productive. Sorry, Major, go ahead.
Congress acting is just getting out of bed, I think, anymore.
Barely. All right, what else is on your mind?
All right, that's all I have for you guys tonight.
Oh, Major.
You might want to chew on that one.
Hey, thank you for the call. We appreciate you. 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join us. Circling back to the raunchy alcohol-fueled Taco Bell party that included open sex.
Oh, yeah.
Since we haven't gotten into it yet. A former Los Angeles Taco Bell employee is suing the company and a franchise owner after she claims a Christmas party at the fast food restaurant descended into a drunken mess that included open sex. Like, as
Is
opposed,
she mad about it?
As opposed to closed sex? I mean,
Yeah.
why the modifier?
I think the
here?
open is the like group aspect.
Okay.
That's the Taco Bell part.
All right. Well, it's a fiesta.
Yeah, it's a fiesta. Come on.
It's
Taco
the nacho-
orgy.
It's not the single order of nachos. It's the party platter.
Chalupa.
Alana filed her lawsuit last week at Los Angeles Superior Court. The suit alleges that her supervisor invited her to the December 18th, 2022 party at the San Pedro Taco Bell at which she worked. She was encouraged to bring food for a potluck-style buffet, and her contribution was a bowl of guacamole.
Wait, you work at a fast food restaurant? You have to bring stuff for potluck?
Potluck, that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
And guacamole. I mean, that's something they serve there.
I guess they're probably just tired of eating
I
that
mean,
food. Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to go there and eat that food
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, have you had Taco Bell like recently?
Yeah.
And if you work
I told
there-
you in a pinch, yeah, it tastes great at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're starving after a concert. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
But in the morning, you got to go to City Hall, I bet.
And it ain't pronounced city either.
Like Sean Connery would say.
What? Don't do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Once Alana arrived, she discovered that her supervisor covered the windows of the restaurant with wrapping paper and also covered the cameras for the lobby in the inside of the restaurant, according to the complaint. So first of all, you're not supposed to have these kinds of parties, in these types of establishments. If you're going to have one, you should have it off premise.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I'm certain after having worked in food, at least way back in the day, that whoever was planning this was doing so without the permission of the business.
No way.
We'll find out. So anyway, windows were covered with wrapping paper, cameras were covered up for some reason. She claims her supervisor provided alcohol to staffers, several of whom were overserved.
I don't know. This party sounds pretty cool.
Underage.
I don't know what her
So
problem
far-
is. I don't
So
know
far,
what her problem is.
if I were working there and I showed up and the cameras were all covered up and the windows were all covered up and the supervisor or whoever, the manager, is like, "Here, have some booze," I'd be like, "Sweet, cool party, bro."
Yeah.
So far.
Got any guacamole?
Yeah.
Around midnight, Alana had stepped outside for a short time, probably to have a smoke, I'm guessing. She walked back into the restaurant and saw a coworker, quote, having sex with his wife in front of everyone at the party.
Oh my gosh.
She alleges. I mean,
Yeah, it's a little. I mean,
okay, but you can choose to leave at that point if it turns into that kind of party, right?
Yeah, just stay outside until they're done.
it's just wait until they're done, you weirdo.
The coworker's wife, Alana claims, was also kissing her female manager and another female coworker at the same time.
Whoa.
Bow chicka bow wow. Bow chicka bow wow. Insert
Yeah, I know,
porn
it sounds
music
pretty,
here. This is what we call a swingers party.
Yeah.
Leave your keys in the
It
bowl.
sounds to me like democracy. All right. Shocked, disgusted, and outraged.
No, don't be so dramatic.
Alana alleges that she first ran out of the restaurant. but then ran back inside
just to make sure what was going on. I can't believe my eyes.
Let me finish the sentence. Shocked, disgusted, and outraged, Alana alleges she first ran outside the restaurant, but then went back inside to retrieve her guacamole bowl.
Oh my God.
Only to find that her manager and the other coworker involved in the sexual encounter were vomiting
in the bowl of guacamole.
Mm-hmm. One threw up in the trash, while the other vomited in her guacamole bowl. According to the complaint. I can't believe you called that.
Wow.
That's so funny.
That's amazing.
Jeez, it's like AI wrote this.
Alana says she reported the incident to Taco Bell Human Resources
Oh my God.
and Alvarado Restaurant Group, the Colorado-based franchisee. Because,
I mean, it sounds like everybody else there was down with the get down except for her.
Yeah.
So,
And-
take the hint and leave.
Yeah, like
Get a new job. It's like
get your guacamole bowl the next time you show up for work, right?
Yeah.
Or just
You know,
leave
like-
it. Just you can buy another guacamole.
just leave
I'm
it.
sure you can get a free
And,
one
like,
on
okay.
Craigslist.
So
Yeah.
she's being so dramatic, like, I was disgusted. I had to flee the scene. Like, this is horrific, all this stuff.
Maybe she was ugly and nobody wanted to
Maybe.
FCC her.
Yeah, maybe.
But she had to run back to get her
But-
$3 guacamole
But
bowl.
that's the thing, right? So if you were so, traumatized, why
Gotta
did you
get
go
back.
back in?
Maybe she
Which
really
was-
wanted to participate
She at least...
and wasn't allowed.
No, she wanted to get another look.
No,
She
oh,
was
yeah?
like, I just want to make sure this is...
She was like,
You
no,
know
no,
what
no,
I mean?
Pornhub won't do. I have
That's
to
what
go.
people do at parties? Like, I never
I
knew
have to
that.
go see
Yeah.
this orgy inside of the Taco Bell kitchen.
Yeah.
With my guacamole
This
bowl
is food
full of
service, ladies and
vomit.
gentlemen. This is regular occurrence.
If you have experience with guacamole as lubricant, give us a call, 603-283-6160.
Or don't give us a call, please.
Don't. The manager and other coworkers involved in the sexual encounter were fired,
Aw.
her complaint states.
Well, that's kind of lame. I mean, I don't think they deserve to be fired. I mean, who doesn't have a little work orgy? Like, whatever, you know what I mean?
I mean, we all
Isn't-
have them.
I mean, yeah.
Right here at the studio. I'll bring a guacamole bowl next week.
Right, yeah.
You ready for that, Captain? That big hard drive you got?
Big and clunky.
Oh, man.
Better bring a big guacamole bowl.
We are spiraling out of control here.
I don't know how.
Please call now and get us onto a different subject.
We've got it, and be careful what you wish for.
Okay.
After their termination, Alana alleges she was threatened and had her car window shattered by someone associated with her former coworker.
What up? Where is this again? Does it say
L.A.
Oh, Los
L.A.? What part of L.A.?
Or La, as I like to call it. San Pedro.
Okay.
You can't find better Mexican food out there than a Taco Bell.
I know, right? Why do they even have Taco Bell out there, honestly?
Well, and like, I don't know about here, but in the Seattle, Washington area, all of the Taco Bells are staffed by mainly Asian-looking people.
Oh. Well, yeah.
I'm like,
maybe they own a franchise.
So it's totally
Because all the Mexican people work at good restaurants.
right, right. So
Yeah.
note to self: if you're looking for good Mexican food, right,
The Asian people don't know how to make it.
go to a place where there's some Mexican people working the
Yeah.
place. Right? I'm just saying, man.
Authentic.
My opinion, my experience. You're not gonna. First of all, Taco Bell isn't Mexican food. It's something that like tries to
American-
look like Mexican food, but it ain't. At any rate, somebody got fired, and then something happened to her car. It was shattered by allegedly, someone associated with the former coworkers. Taco Bell and the franchisee, quote, did nothing about these threats instead and told her that they were transferring her to a new location rather than disciplining the employees who threatened her,
Yeah,
according to the complaint. So,
I don't know.
I feel like this person isn't like...
Yeah, there's more to the story.
Yeah, I feel like this Alana person might not be the most tolerant and friendly person on planet Earth.
No, yeah.
Alana eventually quit. Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you should have done in the first place.
But alleges she has suffered actual consequential and incidental financial losses. Taco Bell
I don't know.
jobs.
I just feel like
Get real, lady.
her car window would. I hate
Yeah.
to victim blame, but it's like you rat on all these people to HR, I mean, I'm not a huge fan
Got
of
a couple people fired.
Yeah, like I'm not a huge fan of people that go to HR. I know there's like certain circumstances, like if you're actually being harassed or whatever, but it's like, come on, man. You work at Taco Bell, like go work at a different location. It's a franchise, you know what I mean?
Take it out in the parking lot.
But and you're in Los Angeles. There's at least like 10 Taco Bells within driving distance from wherever you are.
There has to be.
And only, at least 3 of them probably don't have regular orgies, so she might feel more comfortable there.
She also alleges that Taco Bell violated anti-discrimination laws, according to the New York Post. KTLA, that's the television station that this article comes to us from, reached out to Taco Bell and the Alvarado Restaurant Group for comment. Quote, while we don't own or manage this location, the franchisee who owns and operates this restaurant has shared that they take these claims very seriously, a Taco Bell spokesperson said. That is the end of the article.
And they said, no mas.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Taco Bell.
That was good. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that.
So that was good. That was good clickbait. It worked.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
All right.
We clicked and we're not disappointed.
Yeah.
So we know young people generally occupy these fast food jobs, right?
Yeah.
It's like pretty common for it to be your first job.
Yeah.
If you're in a city or anywhere, urban or suburban.
Yeah.
So what did teens want to be when they grew up? What did you want to be when you grew up? remember?
That's a good question.
I
Probably
oscillated
like
through
a
a bunch of
ballerina,
stuff.
like a dancer.
Okay.
That was kind of what I did.
Steve?
Music related stuff, which is what I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Like when you were a kid?
Teenager?
No, before that.
Oh, as a kid?
8, 10, 12 years old?
No. I think I was always fascinated by like the public works trucks that came by and like put the asphalt on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they put the sand there, then they're cleaning like those street sweepers. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I know these guys make a lot of overtime. These guys are
Yeah.
getting paid well.
And then a snowplow comes by, like that snowplow guy's out all night. Here comes the snowplow. 2 in the morning. He's like, that guy's driving around a snowplow. I thought that was pretty cool as a kid.
Yeah.
But
I had the same kind of thing with like the tow truck driver, and I'm like, oh, that guy's driving a car to help fix a car or something, right? But I got into comic books in my, I don't know, 7, 8 year old era, and I wanted to be a superhero, of course, because I'm reading all these superhero comics.
not writing about superheroes.
No.
Being a superhero.
Right, yeah, but like, of course, well, that's freaking impossible, right?
Yeah, I mean, with that attitude, it sure is.
I'm trying to put a spider in the microwave and then
God.
have him bite me to become Spider-Man.
And
but
then you're like, it just died. What a dumb spider.
Yeah, what's going on? So, I remember thinking that I wouldn't mind acting. You know what I mean? Like being on the television. I thought for a minute I could play football. I was wrong. That didn't last very long. So those are the kinds of things that that went through my mind. We did used to play Cowboys and Indians.
Oh, you can't play that anymore.
I know.
You can't do that anymore.
But full on, with the cowboy hat and the little cap guns.
Cap guns, oh yeah.
And then somebody was dressing up with the headband and the one feather, wearing the fringe. We'd make a fringe looking thing out of some old raggy t-shirts or something, we were creative because we had to be.
Right. There was no internet back then.
So it's 2023. What do you suppose?
There's plenty of internet now.
This supposedly innocent question has been lobbed at children and teenagers for decades, although the answers might differ now due to the rise of social media and the possibility of achieving worldwide fame not being confined to appearing on the big screen or arena stages. Statista's Florian Zant reports, according to a 2021 survey by YouGov, weighted by age and gender, teenage boys and girls in the United States share some similarities when it comes to their dream job, even though the top spots couldn't be further away from each other.
OnlyFans?
I wonder what that means. Well, yeah, I mean, okay, take some stabs.
Baseball player or football, NFL,
What do you think? What do you think
maybe? I would say OnlyFans. They want to, or like an influencer. They want to be like an Instagram.
That's different than OnlyFans.
TikToker.
Different, yeah. But usually there's a lot of overlap there.
TikTok famous they want to be.
All right.
Yeah.
They have an infographic here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. 12% of male teens listed professional athlete as their preferred future job, followed by 11%, this is male teens, followed by 11% who wanted to become an online content creator.
Influencer.
Influencer, yeah. Marketing person.
Classic dream jobs like musician, 6%, and doctor or nurse, 5%, still made the top 5, albeit barely.
Yeah. Well, who wants to be a doctor? You know what I mean? Well, why would you want to be a doctor when you could be
medical doctor?
A TikTok.
Yeah, when you could be on TikTok. Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah, like in some
you
ways.
You could be a TikTok doctor.
In some ways, I have the utmost respect for doctors.
Yeah.
Specifically, emergency room doctors.
Yeah.
Right? Because
for sure.
You get this cross section of humanity that very few people get a look at.
Yeah, the amount of trauma those doctors and nurses must have. I mean, you have to be a special person. I would never be able to work in that specialty, ever.
Coming up, we'll find out what the answers to this question are for female teens and girls, as well as what this means for the future production of everyone, really. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. Hamas released 17 hostages on Sunday, including a 4-year-old American girl. It was the third daily release of hostages, with the fourth and final set of prisoners expected to be set free on Monday. Israel, in return, released 39 Palestinians. However, as FSN's Mia Alberti in Lebanon reports, the pause in fighting could be extended beyond the current 4-day agreement.
As we saw more hostages and prisoners being released on Sunday, we also saw a small glimpse of hope for the relatives of both Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, that both sides appear to be willing to extend this humanitarian pause. So obviously for both sides this would be a welcome news. And we also heard from Qatar, who has been mediating these talks between Israel and Hamas, saying that they are using all of the paths available to try and negotiate, to try and achieve this extension of this humanitarian pause, which in turn could lead to a long-term ceasefire.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is calling for the 4-day Israel-Hamas pause in fighting to be extended to allow for the release of more hostages. He spoke to reporters to confirm a 4-year-old American girl, Abigail Edan, was one of the 17 hostages set free on Sunday.
She's free and she's in Israel now. Those who are now wrapping Abigail in love and care and the supportive services she needs. She's been through a terrible trauma. She spent her birthday, and at least 50 days before that, held hostage by Hamas. Today, she's free under the brokered and sustained, though intensive U.S. diplomacy. We continue to press and expect for additional Americans will be released as well. And we will not stop working until every hostage is returned to their loved ones.
Biden also said he was hopeful the current 4-day truce could be extended so all the hostages, including other Americans, could be safely returned to their families. Meanwhile, the UN World Food Programme is warning Gaza may be on the brink of famine. The WFP's executive director, Cindy McCain, confirmed that the UN has managed to feed more than 110,000 people in Gaza since the pause in fighting. But she warned that much more help was still needed. Speaking to CBS, McCain also said other countries needed to help support the agency's efforts.
This is something that's not only terrific, but it will spread. And with that comes disease and everything else that you can't imagine. Bottom line, we need more trucks in, we need more aid in, we need to be able to have more access to be able to distribute the aid. The problem is not just the ability to not be able to feed. The problem is the world needs to step up.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. It is the final segment of tonight's Sunday night edition. The telephone number 603-283-6160 if you want to join us.
Oh, yeah.
Again, 603-283-6160. We're talking about what teens want to be when they grow up. And, we kind of gave, some of the usual stuff you hear. Tow truck driver, social media influencer,
content creator.
We heard what teen males want to be, and that include professional athlete, online content creator, doctor, nurse, that kind of stuff. We're all in the top 5. But for females, which we haven't talked about yet, the latter seems to be the most coveted future job, with 13% of teenage girls wanting to become a medical professional.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's technically that's typically like female held positions.
Why do you think that is?
I think because naturally women are like more caring, and they're more like they're in the like the caretaker role, more just like biologically. I think it goes into like hormonal makeup, and I'm not supposed to say this anymore, but I will because it's true. Where normally men are more like providers in a sense, where they're like building like more into the trades, and women are more like at home taking care of the kids, and that kind of more translates into as a career, being a nurse, being a doctor. It's genetic. Yeah. It's like literally in our DNA. Yeah. It's like this is how the world functions, is because men do these things and women do these things.
Well, and like I'm just trying to think about my own experiences. On the occasions that I go to a doctor, a hospital, something along those lines, I'm infinitely more comfortable working with or talking with a woman than I am a man.
Yeah, they're just softer. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh well, I feel like I can open up to you more. I can share more, maybe more compassionate. Yeah,
I can't explain what that is. Like effectively, when I've been treated by like a male doctor versus a female doctor or whatever, like no real difference. They treated the thing. They gave me what I needed. They gave me some drugs, whatever. Right, that fix the ailment or whatever it is. So effectively, but like my level of comfort for whatever reason is far superior when it's on
a subconscious level, and I'm sure a lot of people probably agree. I mean, I agree with you. I'd prefer to work with a female in that sort of setting.
Yeah. Captain loves the ladies.
Oh yeah,
it's more that they love me. While 11%, so 13% of teenage girls said they want to become a medical professional, 11% say actress as their dream occupation.
That kind of ties in with the athlete for the male side,
I guess.
Right?
Sure.
The unattainable goal.
Yeah,
right.
You need those. It's like I want to be an astronaut. Okay, well, space isn't real.
I
so
had that one. I had that one because that was like the precursor to my infatuation with science fiction.
Yeah.
Because science fiction is all about outer space, aliens, and life forms, time travel, all that kind of stuff.
You're like, I want to do Star Trek.
Exactly.
The USS Enterprise.
The fact that becoming a YouTuber, streamer, or vlogger made the top 5 for participants of both genders shows the rapid development of financial and societal clout attributed to online personalities for better or worse. Are we online personalities? We are, aren't we?
I guess so.
Wait, was it something? But it was something about financial.
Yeah, where's the finances?
We're not.
Yeah,
we don't get to partake in that.
The accusation has been levied against Free Talk Live that we're funded by
Coca-Cola, the Koch brothers.
Yeah, the Koch
right?
brothers,
Yeah,
or some other entity related to it or whatever. Like, no, dude. Like, no, we're not. Free Talk Live, I could tell you, in my honest opinion, is the most honest show. That,
also, like what mainstream, like we are very non-mainstream.
No.
I mean,
we're so underground, even the underground doesn't know who we are.
Like, who's paying us to do a number 2 story every week?
No one. It's
you know
free.
What I mean? Like,
it's free.
Actually, no, we do have amplifiers, so it's
we do have amplifiers.
It's like crowdsourced.
We are
They're not paying
crowdfunded.
us.
Yes, that is.
Crowdfunded.
When it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting, and supporting us, yes, we are crowdfunded when it comes to that.
But it's not to pay us. It's to promote.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, I think it's public knowledge that we give a stipend to the co-hosts, of like $20,
right? That
like
just
for
pays
gas money to like get here, and that kind of thing. Like if you divide that, into hourly, like do the math, figure it out.
It just pays for my
like,
snacks to sit here and eat.
Yeah,
drink my tea.
It pays for my dinner that we have at Social
not
Sunday.
Even. You would be doing that anyways.
I
You're
would.
not doing that
But what I'm saying is like it offsets the expense of coming here and do the show. We don't actually get paid anything. So
if you'd like to join,
come
on. You have to want to be on this show. That's all I'm saying.
There's no money incentive to do this.
Well, and radio isn't what it used to be, right? It used to be you got on the radio, you're a big radio star.
You're a DJ.
Because like radio and TV were exclusive.
Star.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But now the internet's taken over.
Killed all of that.
The internet has taken over, and now radio is just this like, sub niche.
Yeah.
Niche, whatever.
So we are influencers, but
we are.
Yeah.
The fact that, so according to Influencer Marketing Hub, the market size for influencer marketing has doubled since 2019 and was valued at $16.4 billion worldwide in 2022. Well, it's amazing.
Well, I mean, if everyone becomes an influencer, then it's like Elvis. There was Elvis in the 70s. Then after Elvis died,
left the building.
Well, after he died, then there were 1 in 100,000 people were Elvis impersonators.
Right.
Then if you follow that trajectory, it was like 1 in 10,000, and then 1 in 1,000.
Yeah.
And then if you follow the trajectory, it's like 1 in 10 people are going to be Elvis.
Yeah,
impersonators.
you have to go to Vegas now.
So everyone wants to be an influencer, and then when everyone's an influencer, no one's an influencer.
Yeah. Well, and only so many people. I mean, you have to be like top tier, and you know what? I think it's like luck almost, like right place, right time, know the right people, mixed with like having a special kind of personality. And because I follow a lot of like travel vloggers. That's just something I'm interested in on YouTube. And you have people that have millions of subscribers, and because they have that something special, they just have that personality. They're just really good. Like their video editing's down pat. Like they got it going on. And then you have other people who might have like 10,000 followers, or they still have a good amount of followers. Like people are watching their content, but they're not making a living. They're not making big bucks doing that. Because, not everyone is going to have 50 million subscribers. That's just how it is. There's only a select few people who are going to be like the biggest thing in the content creators.
And they're not doing all the work. I mean, they have a staff of writers,
once they get
camera,
big. Once they get big enough, they do have to outsource some of that, because then it just gets. And I think part of that, like investing in your business, I mean, this is just business 101, but like reinvesting is part of
business.
Continuing, it's like continuing to grow your business and making money doing it, because you can do something. You can have millions of subscribers and not make money. Especially now, YouTube's not really paying people anymore. Now you have to go out there and get your own sponsors and stuff like that. Like that's how those people are making money.
Yeah.
Or
through the sponsors.
Placement.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you gotta, if I'm sponsored by Yeti, I have to sell, like you have to use my code, or else I'm not making those kickbacks. So that's kind of how that works, and it's not as easy as a lot of these teens
brand
probably
ambassador.
think it is. You know what I mean? Like,
I saw a pretty awesome meme in that, like, it made me think and also made me laugh. It was.
I love that.
That's the definition of a meme.
Yeah,
Right?
that's great.
It was a picture of a dude holding a protest sign.
Yeah.
And it said equal pay for men on OnlyFans.
Yeah. Sorry, bud. Not in high demand.
Sorry, guys.
I thought that was.
I thought it was a guy holding
funny.
a sign that said "My arms are tired."
My arms are
No,
tired.
but I have one saved somewhere. I don't think it's on my phone anymore, but it was a guy at a protest, right? So there's a protest going. You can kind of, like, most of the signs are sort of blurred out, but you can't really read what they're saying. And his just says, "I hate signs."
Right. The best one I saw was "Save Our Teachers" with an A-R-E. Save Our Teachers.
Oh, God.
At a protest.
So back to this infographic about what the teens want to be when they grow up. So male, 12% professional athlete, 11% YouTube streamer, 6% musician, 6% professional gamer. Forgot about that one.
Wow. Oh, yeah,
that's a thing.
That's a new big one. So, and Matt likes to
used
play.
Used to be your parents said, "Don't waste your time playing video games.
Yeah.
You could be doing something. You could be learning something about
So
get a job or whatever."
That's
but, like,
me.
Now,
I'm that person that's like, go get a job. But Matt was telling me, like, a Call of Duty and, like, a lot of those, like, video games, like, because I'm like, why are you watching a YouTube video of somebody else playing a video game? Like, that is so dumb. It's so boring. I don't get it. But he's like, no, it's the same as people watching sports.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I also think that's dumb. So maybe it still tracks with how my brain works. But that's what people, you know what I mean? Like, I guess it's not any different than you watching a football game.
Right.
You're just watching someone play a game because they're better at it than you.
Well, a lot of those, Call of Duty video games are basically to turn you into a 21st century soldier, so you can remote control one of those dogs or a robot or a drone, so you can blow things up, half a world away.
So rounding out the top 5 for male teenagers, doctor or nurse, 5%. So those are the top 5 for male. Top 5 for female, doctor or nurse, 13%. So in a bit of a flip-flop from the males. Actress, 11%. Doctor Nurse 13, actress 11, musician 9%, artist 7%, and YouTuber/streamer at 6%.
YouTuber.
Yeah.
No, it sounds so dumb, right?
Isn't there? Well, never mind.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Well, somebody does.
Somebody cares.
Let's see if I tried to screen this guy a minute ago. Let's see if he's with us. Are you with us, David?
What?
There you are. It's David in New Mexico, everybody.
Who's this? Yeah. I want to respond to or answer Gigi's questions, but a couple other side comments. Nikki, you were saying we should be able to build a shack in the woods like we could 100 years ago. You can still do that in most states in the country. You can do it here. There are no building permits required where I'm at, and there are
you have to buy the land, right, and pay taxes.
Yeah, buy the land. The cost you can buy an acre of land for $1,000. The taxes will be like $50 a year.
Yeah.
And there's no building codes that you can build whatever you want. You can build a shack, but I warn you though, if you do build a shack in New Mexico, then Ian Freeman will make fun of you on the radio. So you might want to build something to code so you don't get made fun of on Free Talk Live. I wasn't calling to brag, but since you're
was
talking
he really
about it
making
earlier,
fun of the shack though, or just making fun of you?
Well, there you go. You answered your own question. But
the question
in that same vein, I grew up in Minnesota, and we're not as smart as you guys in New Hampshire because we're number 2, not number 1. But I did graduate in every class I was in the top 10% of the class in the number 2 state. So maybe that's worth something. Maybe not quite as smart as New Hampshire.
All right.
Yeah. And
Minnesota's one of the top 12 states.
He said top 2. He's number 2.
No, but it's one of the top 12.
Oh, Minnesota is one of the top 12 states
in the country. Yes.
Yeah, in the country.
Yeah, right. And Steve Classic, you said next they'll be coming for your kids' lemonade stand.
Yes.
Sorry to tell you, they've been doing that for 20 years, coming after kids' lemonade stands in various states around the nation. I think Captain just
they don't have a health permit or something, or a health
business
health
department.
Permit, underage labor, you name it. The cops just show up and confiscate your lemonade and put the little 6-year-old, 8-year-old out of business. And answering the Gigi's question, though, about first of all, the organized crime, like the mafia, the Italian, you got the Italian mob.
Oh, that question. I thought you were answering hard or soft.
What?
The pretzel question.
Well, both actually, Gigi. It depends on whether you're playing Stranglehold by Ted Nugent or if you're playing Barry White.
Okay. All right. I can get down with that. Continue.
Yeah. By the way, I did once. I needed to make some money, so I started a tribute band, band or whatever you want to call it for Barry White, and I sang the part of Barry White. My stage name was Barry White, and it worked out famously. Not quite as good as the original, but Barry White is Barry White. And so, Gigi, you were asking about all these evil people. And that kind of in the same vein as
repeat the question for our listeners that have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I'll let people figure the question out for themselves because I don't have an exact quote of the question.
Give us the gist of the question.
That's what I was in the process of doing, was giving you the gist, which falls into the vein of Gene Simmons's Kiss lunchboxes. But Gigi was questioning why Putin, Zelensky, who else did she name? Netanyahu, and the Argentinian Malay guy. Why are they being autocrats, doing this, doing that? They all happen to be Khazarians, which are now they call themselves Jewish people, but the Bible refers to them as the fake Jews. And if you study, like fiat currency, you're not a fan of fiat currency. That came out of Babylonian money magic along the Silk Trail. That's how this all got started, and how you got enslaved by these people. But let me go back to my beginning. The Italian mafia, the Serbian mafia, the Albanian mafia, the Irish mafia, the Jewish mafia, many different demographics have a mafia. These guys are the Khazarian mafia, and they have if you look into the Bible and the history surrounding it and compare the term Judahites to Jewish, they're not the same thing. And it goes back to Khazaria. And Ukraine was on the Silk Road. Israel, what didn't exist as Israel, what did 2,000 years ago, there were Israelites. There were 12 tribes, 13 tribes, and then they just kind of disbanded. And then all of a sudden, in 1947, 48, bam, we got to create this state called Israel that pushed a bunch of other people out. And then now there's talk about, Israel, there's so much problems there. Maybe all the Israelis need to move up into Ukraine. So, like I said, Zelensky he calls himself a Jewish dude. Putin is essentially a Jewish dude. And Malay just recently converted to Judaism. And so there's a thing there. There's a thing there that if you might want to study, and you'll get a lot of your questions answered. And people just don't seem to know this thing.
Okay. Well, thanks for the call, David. 603-283-6160. Might have time to get you in. I do want to mention that we have this other story here. David was talking about the Bible, so we might as well go biblical here.
Wow.
This from the Daily Star. Blue-eyed AI Jesus threatens damnation if viewers ignore his TikTok commandments.
Oh, my gosh.
I've been ignoring them. I'm sorry.
A TikTok account claiming to be Jesus returning to Earth has been giving blessings to believers and threatening damnation to those who don't comply with his demands online.
Send me money.
Yeah,
or you're going to hell.
This is the new televangelism.
Yeah.
Send me Bitcoin.
AI Jesus. Oh my gosh.
Jesus has apparently made his second coming, no pun intended, via social media, giving blessings and threatening damnation after videos claiming to be him have surfaced online. A TikTok account, which has gained more than 9 million likes across 70 videos, has been posing as the biblical figure under the username Daily Believer. The profile shares clips made.
Sounds legit.
Right.
I was gonna say, I wonder if they wanted, if they, when they were a kid, they said, "Well, I'm gonna start this Daily Believer thing, and I'm gonna be an influencer." Probably not.
The profile shares clips made with artificial intelligence, clips showing the self-declared Jesus with long hair, a beard, and blue eyes based on the 1940 painting Head of Christ. So in other words, an inaccurate portrayal.
Right.
Yeah.
Each clip shows the computer-generated Jesus telling viewers they must share this video with their friends and family and comment, "I believe," if they believe in God.
Or else.
But if they do not comply with his demands, he tells them they will face damnation.
Damnation. Wow.
One clip.
It sounds very coercive, or
Well, religion is the basis of government.
Right.
It's the, hey, do as we say or else.
Yep.
You're going to
One
hell.
nation under God.
Right? So that's where government literally comes from.
Right.
It's just that religions could only threaten you with these esoteric things like hell.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, well, that sounds like it's not
you
going to
know.
happen for a while, so I guess I don't care.
Right. Well, until I die, I guess I'll just do
But
whatever I want.
jail feels a lot closer.
Jail,
it's like, oh gosh.
An armed guy in a costume with a badge, right? Pointing
Yeah.
a gun at you.
It's like, well, yeah, I can see that.
An armed confrontation, right? Every time you're pulled over, by the way, by a policeman, that is an armed confrontation.
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
Okay, go ahead.
Because you could say that it's not. You would say it's not an armed confrontation.
The cop would be, you're like, I'm sorry,
This is an
officer.
armed confrontation.
This is an armed confrontation. I go, no, this isn't. You're not under duress or anything. Like, what happens if I drive away?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. If I drive away, then it becomes an armed confrontation.
So it is that from the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
It's when you don't comply that it turns into something
that's right.
true, that you realize what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else? So say like if this happened, like a random stranger drives you off the road, puts these blinding lights on, walks up to your car with a taser, pepper spray, gun, baton, a whole like utility belt of weapons,
sunglasses,
and then
big boots.
sunglasses and a flashlight that's blinding,
and he's got another guy with him.
and another guy with him, and like 6 on the way. And is demanding your papers. I mean, what if in any other circumstance you're like, well, this person is a terrorist?
Yeah. It sounds like it could be becoming a number 2 story.
Yeah.
If that guy shows up.
And or something that resembles the Nazis. Papers, please.
Yeah, Gestapo, yeah.
Right? Like, why
I'm just
should
going
you,
to work.
Why should you
Chill
have
out.
to show a driver's license and proof of insurance? Why should you even have to
You shouldn't
pull over?
have to do any of that. Yeah.
They just get you with a license plate reader, and they should have all that information.
Right.
Right? I don't know. Unless someone someone stole your car.
At any rate, one clip from one of these AI Jesus videos, which is pinned to the top of the Daily Believer account after gaining more than 3.5 million likes. The account said in the caption, "This video brings a special visitor to you straight from my home. He is someone I know very well. His name is Jesus Christ. He is ready to enter your life.
Bless.
Bring protection to your family and cleanse your heart with his love."
Wow. God bless.
And if not,
Send me money.
if not, you're damned.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Church of Suicidal. We'll have a sermon and a wonderful recital. But before we go on, there's something I must mention, an important message I must bring to your attention. I was in meditation and prayer last night. I was awoken by a shining bright light. Overhead, a glorious spirit. He gave me a message, and y'all need to hear it. Send me your money.
Yeah.
It's a little Suicidal Tendencies poetry for you.
Yep.
If you don't know the song, go look it up. It's called Send Me Your Money.
Yep. Bless.
The same video offers a kind of damnation to users who do not share the clip with friends and family. As the virtual AI Jesus said, "If you reject, remember what he said. If you deny me before me, I will deny you before the Father," reciting Matthew 3:10.
Oh my gosh.
However, he's not all gloom and doom, as some of Digital Jesus' videos feature different blessings for various people and occasions, and start with him saying, "Hey, over 300,000 people commented on one of his videos following his intrusions with, 'I believe.'" So I'm thinking about now our friend Aria.
Yeah.
What would her response to this be?
I don't know.
Like, not just vocally, but like she might see something like this and go, "I wonder if I could do the same thing, but different."
Be an influencer.
If you feel my gist. What if there was an AI Satan?
Yeah.
Right? Giving off like Anton LaVey quotes and stuff like that, right? You know?
It could be Armageddon on TikTok. Who knows? The final rapture on TikTok.
Oh, what did I hear about?
Satan.
No, there was a school that
Connecticut has the
it?
Satan Club.
Yes,
Satan
that
Club.
was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that post is so funny. And it's not even satire either, because they are in that post, the flyer, I was reading it, and I'm like, they're actually like talking about like real stuff that like modern Satanists believe in. I'm like, no, this has to be real. Oh my gosh, it was so funny though.
I think it was just a PR stunt, or they're trying to say, well,
I don't know,
or they're just doing it so like if you ignore us, you better ignore the rest of the club.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to make a point. I don't know.
We are out of time. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Steve Classic, for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our callers, and most importantly, our listeners. If you want to find out more about Free Talk Live or find our archives, visit freetalklive.com. Thanks, and peace.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel